Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live today from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, and we are, as always, presented by the wonderful Southern Bank of Tennessee. Jake is in for Ian today. Hello, Jake.
Hello, Jared. How are you?
I am outstanding. So, I want to start on something, a text message that I got. I don't know, I want to say, we're starting these two text messages because this is the state of the Titans organization. And I know people don't want to hear this. I know people want to hear just a breakdown of the draft picks and who's going to be good and who's this and who's that. Tell us about Cam Ward, Jared. Let's talk about when he went from Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami, and Cam Ward's the best. And well, let's talk about that. Let's not talk about the dysfunction of the organization and all of the crazy stuff and everything. I get it. I understand. I get it. I know that most of you don't think that I do, but I do. I understand. We want to talk about the team. We want to talk about the ball. We want to talk about all of that. And again, I get it. But I do want to start with this, which is a text message that I got, 10 minutes ago. We've talked a lot about the fact that the Titans let go of their longtime PR director, Robbie Bourne. It's, a move and a handful of moves that the Titans have made that are really inexplicable as far as firing longtime employees who do well at their jobs and represent all the right things and everything else. And I had a former head coach in the National Football League and a former Titans coach reach out to me 15 minutes ago and asked if I had the phone number for Robbie Bourne, the departing Titans PR director. Said, wow, fired, ouch, my favorite Titan employee. Again, that is a former coach. There are people that are sitting there that have been saying, oh, the media's mad about this because Robbie Bourne was their friend. And no, we're mad about it because he was a good employee. He made our jobs easier. And most importantly, as Joe Rexrode put it yesterday, it's clueless behavior. I got another text from an ESPN reporter, a national ESPN reporter, who texted yesterday, and we were talking about the Titans, and they said, a scout there told me that Rand Carthon would just be sleeping in his office, not like overnight, like lazy. Jake has seen both of these text messages, so you know, Jake, that I am not making this up.
Yes, that is correct.
This is the state of the organization where, again, they're hiring people telling you how great they are, and they're sleeping in their office. They fired Rand Carthon and promoted his chief lieutenant to the czar of football operations, in spite of the fact that there's nothing about Chad Brinker's resume that says he deserves such title. The culture inside the building is, let's get rid of these long-tenured employees who care about this team, who have been around forever, have institutional knowledge, are well-respected, not only locally, but across the league, not only by media people, but by coaches. The Titans are a tire fire. And I know you want to talk about Cam Ward, and I know you want to talk about what they'll do in the second round, and I know you want to hope it's the offseason. It's the time of year where you can just sit there and dream about what if, Jared, what if we draft the next Patrick Mahomes? But the reality is the Titans are a poorly run operation, and it's probably more likely than not that the Cam Ward thing may not work out simply because of you. That's nothing to do with Cam Ward, because Paul Kaharski said something I thought that needs to be highlighted, needs to be addressed this morning when talking about the Titans. And I get it. You don't care about PR directors. You don't care about culture. You don't care about any of that. You care about winning and losing on Sunday. And right now it's the offseason, so you can convince yourself that your team is making moves to help them win on Sunday in the fall. And that's what we want to talk about, Jared, winning and losing. Well, this is what Paul Kaharski talked about, because there is an idea that maybe Cam Ward can save this organization of dysfunction, the same way Joe Burrow has saved the Bengals, the same way Peyton Manning saved the Colts. And as PK said, maybe we shouldn't put the onus on Ward. Maybe we should be worried about what the Titans will do to Cam Ward.
It's hard to have confidence that they're getting out of this, short of Cam Ward being a great player, which, again, I'm with you. That's the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. But their organization is poorly run.
You're giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Cam Ward could be great. Now, organizations screw up great players all the time. This one
Well, I'm saying, like he needs
is
to
a
be great
prime
for
candidate
them.
to screw them up.
Sure.
Prime candidate. So, I mean, if you're out there thinking Cam Ward's going to fix all of this, I'm sorry. And I know I'm on the pessimistic side of things. I'm not a true believer in Cam Ward, but I think he's got a great chance. He could come in here and they could totally mess him up.
All I hear about with past Titan quarterbacks is, it just never works out. It didn't work out with Vince Young. It didn't work out with Jake Locker. It didn't work out with Mariota. Oh, we have the worst luck. Do you see the one common denominator in all those scenarios? I used to ask Floyd. He drafted Vince Young. I used to ask Floyd all the time, what happened to Vince Young? His response every time was, all I know, when I was GM, he was rookie of the year and headed to the Pro Bowl. What happened after that? I don't know, which is his way of saying they screwed him up. Titan fans love to complain about the Titans during the season. When the team is 2-7 and they get crushed on a Sunday and there's no hope in sight and everybody knows they're going to lose the next game the following Sunday. And on Monday, we take your angry calls, angry at Amy, angry at the GM, angry at the coach, angry at everybody. And then the offseason happens, and Titan fans completely ignore any realities about their organization and their football team because it's all daydreaming about how great it's going to be. Last year, this city was of the belief, and I honestly, it took my breath away. I could not believe it. This city was of the belief that Brian Callahan was going to turn Will Levis into Joe Burrow. Remember the offseason of toxic positivity? This year for Titans fans, forget about the tire fire our organization is. Forget about the fact that the coach is on the hot seat. Cam Ward will be a star. But Kaharski brought up an excellent point. Again, we harp on the leadership problems. Amy Adams Strunk, Burke Nihill, Chad Brinker. And while Cam Ward might be that great as far as what saves this terrible organization, it is infinitely more likely that this terrible organization will ruin Cam Ward. And I know that's something that Titan fans do not want to hear. But guess what? It's the truth. Do you want the truth? Or do you want affirmation that makes you feel better about your team? Since the Titans have moved to Tennessee, even as the Oilers, there have been two quarterbacks in my lifetime drafted number 1 overall who just fundamentally changed bad organizations. Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Other than that, Trevor Lawrence, who was as hyped of a prospect as there has been other than Andrew Luck, can't turn Jacksonville around. Is it a Trevor problem or is it a Jacksonville problem? So right now, you have to hope that Cam Ward is Joe Burrow or Peyton Manning. And yet, look at every draft board out there. Nobody has Cam Ward as the top player in this draft. Dane Brugler at The Athletic put out a new draft board, a new big board 2 days ago. Cam Ward is ranked as the 15th best player in the draft. Dane Brugler thinks somebody named Malachi Starks is better than Cam Ward. So as of right now, you have to admit, it's infinitely more likely that the Titans will ruin Cam Ward than it is that Cam Ward will save the team. And if you're not willing to accept that, or more importantly, address it, then you're just blinded to what you want to believe. And you're in need of a reality check. The problem with the Titans is they fired everybody who might actually give them a reality check. People that are loyal to the Titans and the Titans' success, they're out. It's all being loyal to Chad Brinker and being loyal to Burke Nihill. And all they want to hear is about how great they are all the time. And unfortunately, as good as Cam Ward might one day be, it seems unlikely unless the Titans either get incredibly lucky and Cam is way better than everybody thinks, including them. They would not be telling the media, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, anybody who will listen, that they're still listening on offers if they thought Cam Ward was going to be Joe Burrow or Peyton Manning. So either they better hope Cam is better than everybody thinks he is right now, or this is going to fail. And I hate to say it, but it seems, again, infinitely more likely that he's going to fail. That's how we're starting today. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. And if you really wondered how truly terrible of an organization the Titans are right now, there's a one thing when it comes to the excitement of drafting Cam Ward that I cannot get over. It is a reality that they're not even denying. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
And
Right.
and here's the other thing about Burke. We're talking about the people he's sending out. Look at the people he's brought in. Some of them are anonymous background people. He was instrumental in hiring Rand Carthon. He was instrumental in hiring Brian Callahan.
And listen, real quick.
And he washed his hands of Rand Carthon in 2 years. Pretty good. Oh, the job has changed. The job has changed. No, what changed is you hired a guy who was not good at all. And I hear more and more. I know people think I've got some personal thing against Rand Carthon. I've got a reporting thing about Rand Carthon. And people are telling me more and more. If you want a GM that's playing some form of Candy Crush during meetings, you got the guy. Good job, Burke.
That was Paul Kaharski criticizing Titan CEO Burke Nihill earlier this morning, and I heard that. And Jake, again, you've seen the text message. You know who it's from. An ESPN reporter yesterday texted me and said Rand Carthon was sleeping in his office during the job. Not like, hey, Rand Carthon's in the building working so hard, he's spending the night there. It's like 3:00 in the afternoon. Hey, Rand's asleep in his office. And then I hear this morning Paul talking about, the more I report on Rand, the more I hear playing Candy Crush during the meetings. And I'm like, yep, that's who they hired. And here's what I find so funny about fixing problems in life. If you've got a problem and you're going to fix it, what is the number one thing that you must do? Admit the problem. I mean, isn't that always the number one thing? If you can't lose weight and you've been trying and you've been trying and you've been trying, and let me say this, I am somebody who could always stand to lose a few. But the first thing is to admit the problem. For me, it's discipline. That's the problem. That's why when you start these programs, like you do a 30-day cleanse, what's the first thing they tell you to do? Throw everything out. Throw all the cookies, throw all the chips, throw it all out. Don't even have it as an option because you don't have the discipline. And you have to look in the mirror and say, I don't have the discipline to be able to do this. I can't have Oreos in the house. And so the first step when it comes to addressing this organization's dysfunction is to realize that it is in fact dysfunctional. What do the Titans do? Promote Chad Brinker. Because why not? I mean, Chad was 8th in command in Green Bay. And they already, when it comes to Cam Ward and the idea that they might screw him up, they are already starting themselves behind when it comes to Cam Ward because they have a head coach who they want to fire at the end of the season. They're going to fire Brian Callahan at the end of the year, barring a shocker, barring a 10-win season where they get to the divisional round of the playoffs. And again, Mike Mularkey won 9 games, got to the divisional round of the playoffs, and that didn't help him because they wanted to fire him. They are going to fire Brian Callahan after this season. I am telling you that Chad Brinker, despite the fact that he was a big part of the group that hired Brian Callahan, did not want Brian Callahan to stay on as coach. And again, why would he? Chad Brinker's made it obvious. He wants his people. I mean, if Robbie Bourne, the PR director who was good at his job, wasn't good enough for Chad Brinker, or Anthony Pastrana, the video guy, who was good enough for all the other coaches, all the other general managers, everybody else, if he wasn't good enough for his job, for Chad Brinker, what makes you think Brian Callahan is? So you're going to draft Cam Ward number 1 overall, and you're going to have Brian Callahan teach him a scheme and a verbiage. Brian Callahan and Nick Holes and Bo Hardigree, and after 1 year and 6 wins, they're going to fire Brian Callahan, and they'll start all over with a new scheme and new verbiage and new everything else. Now, does that sound like a good idea to you? Now, it will sound like a good idea when they are 5-10 and they fire Callahan after they lose to the Texans at home in Oiler throwbacks by 30 points. It'll sound good to you that Brian Callahan gets fired, the same way it sounded good to Bears fans that Matt Eberflus got fired in the middle of the season in Chicago. Gerard Mayo was so bad in New England, they fired him, and they hired Mike Vrabel. It sounds like a good thing, but the problem is, now Drake May, now Caleb Williams, they have to learn totally new schemes, totally different. that's not conducive to success. I heard Bill Polian say, the number one thing you've got to do for young players is they do not react well to change. Well, we already know they're going to change the head coach after the first year with Cam Ward. And I hear a lot of people that say, well, I think if they draft a quarterback, then that should give Callahan at least 2 more years. Well, that's you. And that is rooted in logic. That is rooted in the idea that, hey, if we're going to draft him and we're going to have Brian Callahan teach him the scheme and we're going to have Brian Callahan set the expectations and we're going to have Brian Callahan guide Cam Ward as a rookie, it would make no sense to then rip that out after 1 year and start all over again. But again, that's you. And you operate in logic. They're going to win 6 games and they'll fire Callahan. And Mike Borgonzi will do the press conference and say, well, it just wasn't working out. We got to find somebody that is going to lead the way that we need them to lead and blah, 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 blah. But does that sound like a good idea to you? And maybe the Titans find a way to win more than the 5.5, which is their over-under win total that came out from ESPN Bet today. But if they don't, Callahan's gone, period. And a new head coach comes in. And then guess what will be said about the new head coach? The new head coach didn't draft Cam Ward. Cam Ward will have to take a step back because it'll be a new system. There will be new players. It'll be new verbiage, new. And then after year 1, if Cam doesn't ascend, which again, changing the coach on a young quarterback is never a good idea. But that's what dysfunctional teams, Chicago, New England Post Brady, you with Will Levis, you with Mariota, you with Vince Young changing the GM, that's what you do. And then it'll be, well, Matt Nagy didn't draft Cam Ward. Mike McCarthy didn't draft Cam Ward. Look, I like Brian Callahan. I'm not sure he's a very good coach, but I like Brian Callahan. But if I was going to draft a quarterback, and I wasn't sold on Callahan, I would have fired him after 1 year. Because the last thing I want to do is draft the young quarterback and then turn around and have to go hire another coach, and now the young quarterback has to learn things all over again. So unless Cam Ward is Superman and can make up for Amy's inability to run a team, Burke, Nihill, and Chad Brinker for having no clue except for our people are the right people, and Brian Callahan's, again, likely inability to coach successfully in the NFL, is if Cam Ward's Superman and can overcome all of that, everybody, congratulations. You got Peyton Manning. You got Joe Burrow. But again, how likely is that to be the reality? Now, I think Matt Nagy might be a good coach. The problem was he went to the Bears, and the quarterback he inherited was Mitch Trubisky, who was taken 2nd overall. But again, this whole musical chairs, firing everybody, then keeping one person. Now it's GM, now it's coach. Now we're promoting the assistant GM ahead of the GM, and the GM sleeping in his office. And that's what good organizations do, right? That's how young players go to those organizations and have success. Have you noticed the Ravens draft guys in the first round? And they seem to work out. Tyler Linderbaum, Kyle Hamilton, Zay Flowers. The Ravens draft, I don't understand it. Do you think it is the Ravens just know how to pick better players, or do you think it is that the Ravens have an established culture and level of expectation, and it comes from the owner on down? I'll let you be the judge. 615-737-1025. Let's hit your phones. 615-737-1025 here on the program. Stillman and Company here on 1025 The Game. And let me tell all the fine folks out there about the fact that if you want to win tickets to a Preds game, be listening to Robbie and Rexro tomorrow morning for Preds Pick to Click. All you have to do is guess a Preds goal scorer, and if they put the puck in the back of the net, you win. So be listening tomorrow morning for the cue to call on Robbie and Rexro.
there's so much going on in this market right now where there's a Stockholm syndrome where people just kind of accept what's going on. I don't know. Maybe the Twitter thing is out of control in terms of not representing the real world, but in terms of firing the PR director, so many people are like, hey, I don't care, which is fine. You don't have to care. But if you want to know what's going on with the organization and its dysfunction, it's an important development.
It's a symptom, and I think people don't get that.
Yeah. And B, this other thing where like, well, they're, they need some change after all of this time, or you're upset that your number one source is fired, or all of this stuff. Listen, you have to step back at some point and concede, whether you like me or not. For some reason, the rest of the media is largely silent on this thing. I don't really understand it. There are people who cover the team closely and know the people who are involved in stuff who want to tell you what's going on over there and what it means. So shh for a second and listen and learn about it. You don't know these inside people. I understand that. But there's meaning to what's going on there.
I love that. So you people are like, I don't care about what's going on over there. PK's like, just shh, because it matters. The NFL, I talk about this all the time. The NFL is a socialist government, right? They want everybody to be the same. They have the same television deal. In baseball, for instance, the Chicago White Sox have a different local television deal than the Los Angeles Dodgers. So there's a huge discrepancy in how much money the Dodgers can spend compared to the White Sox or to the Miami Marlins. In the NFL, everybody gets the same TV money. That is, again, socialism. And the NFL, they want the best team to get the worst pick. They want the worst team to have the fourth place schedule. They want everybody to be 9-8 or 8-9. And yet, who are all the same bullcrap teams we're talking about? Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, the Raiders, the Jets, Jacksonville. What do they all have in common? They're poorly run. Indianapolis, they're all poorly run. Houston, we used to laugh about Houston every day and make fun of them because the owner was stupid enough to have the team chaplain in charge of the operation, and they kept doing everything wrong. Then they got rid of him, and now all of a sudden they're good. Paul's right. It matters. This stuff matters. If you want to be good, it matters. And we'll do all the analysis of Cam Ward, and, it's a daily show and a daily report card and a daily everything. But I'm just telling you right now, if the Titans were a stock, the second that they pick Cam Ward and that stock goes up, I'd short the hell out of it because they're run by morons. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. One texter says, Jared, you're probably right about the Titans organization ruining Cam Ward. But in this day and age, it's the draft, and you draft a quarterback until you get it right. Teams don't care if they ruin a guy's career. Nobody cares if they ruin the guy's career. But I care if they ruin them because it's the first pick. And if you get the first pick on a quarterback who might be good, you need to do everything for that quarterback to be good so that you can win games. You want to know what's crazy? For some reason, and the draft, it's this way in the NBA for the most part. Certainly this way in hockey. Every superstar in hockey was taken, with the exception of Sebastian Aho. Almost every superstar that scores goals in the NHL was taken with like the third pick or higher. Every single one of them. But it's not this way in football. I think people just think, oh, well, this player was always going to be good, and this team just guessed right and picked the right guy. Josh Allen would not have been good in a lot of places because they're poor organizations with rough media markets that aren't fair to the players they develop. Josh Allen's first 2 years, he was awful. That was Buffalo. They had a plan in place. New owner had taken over. And all of a sudden, Buffalo, with a new owner and a new GM and a new coach and a new quarterback and a plan to develop the quarterback, all of a sudden, Buffalo, who didn't make the playoffs from 1999 to 2017, makes the AFC Championship game pretty much every year. Again, there are a handful of players who would be good no matter what. Joe Burrow and Peyton Manning are the two quarterbacks who I think you could not screw up. And I feel like Cincinnati has tried when it has come to Burrow. But other than that, I mean, it's not about ruining Cam Ward's career. It's not that I'm sitting here saying, oh, don't do this to Cam Ward, you crappy Titans. It's you guys are so hot and heavy for Cam Ward. Like, you guys think he's better than he is. Because the way you talk about him, it's like he's a slam dunk, can't miss. Not the 15th best player in the draft, as Dane Brugler at The Athletic ranked him 2 days ago. So if this is going to work, you've got to develop him. But we know your coach is on the hot seat. The general manager isn't even really a real general manager. The president of football operations is a total dork. The CEO of the team, again, inherited a team that was in the AFC Championship game with a general manager who was very popular at the time, entrenched firmly, a head coach who was very popular at the time, entrenched firmly, and look at where they are today. I mean, it is what it is. One texter says, you guys are going to have to connect the dots for us. Everyone is blown away by the fire, but we don't have enough context to understand. I thought Jared was happy with Borgonzi thus far. Are we assuming this guy was saying things to Brinker that they didn't want to hear and he was fired? There's no chance it was a valid fire. So if you're talking about Robbie Bourne, again, the reason why Robbie Bourne got fired is because Chad Brinker and Burke Nihill have MGS, which does run rampant in the NFL, especially amongst these stupid teams. You're thinking, what is MGS? It's called My Guy Syndrome. Mike Vrabel definitely had MGS. My guy, my team, my quarterback, my scheme, my assistant coaches, my PR director. Chad Brinker's going to go get somebody from the Green Bay Packers. And they'll come in here and not know anything about the history of the team, and that's fine. Again, you don't have to. We'll see how they do. I have no idea. But again, the reason is because Robbie Bourne wasn't their guy. And Chad Brinker and Burke Nihill think they can just, hey, our guys, they'll get it done. You'll see. Their guy, Rand Carthon, the guy who hired Brinker, the guy who Burke Nihill hired, was sleeping in his office, according to an ESPN reporter that a scout told. Paul wrote about sleeping on the plane, playing Candy Crush in meetings. That's the guy they hired. I mean, come on. Burke Nihill did an interview on 104.5 at training camp saying that when they went through the process of hiring Brian Callahan, they thought they made the right call. And at training camp said, now we know we crushed this hire. Less than a year later, he's telling TD, we're going to hold him accountable. I mean, it's a dumpster fire. One texter says, the Titans leadership runs this team like most companies do now. Office politics are more important than merit. True. Boy, I see that so often too. It's like it was almost a breath of fresh air when the Titans are telling people, we really want to go through the process of evaluating the quarterback before we decide we're going to take him. And everyone's like, why? Well, that's what you should do. But I agree. I think office politics, I think the Titans culture inside that building, Ken Rosenthal wrote a story about the Atlanta Braves. And this was maybe 8 years ago. And he wrote this story, and of course, everybody would, oh, that's not true. That's not true, about how the general manager and the president and the director of baseball operations, how nobody knew who was in charge. The culture there was terrible. People were getting run out. It was awful. It was this. It was that. Everybody in Atlanta denied it, said it wasn't true. Now, Kenny Rosenthal has impeccable credentials as a baseball reporter. So Major League Baseball, instead of doing what a lot of you do, which is put hands over their ears and go, la, 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 don't hear it, Major League Baseball launched an investigation into the Atlanta Braves, figured out, hey, actually, there's not just smoke here. There's a 5-alarm fire, and the general manager was suspended for life. He got the Pete Rose treatment. And they had to blow it all up, and now they make the playoffs every year. Amazing how that happens, right? Justin says, Jared, now that we have been given the nasty medicine of reality, what is the hope for the future of this organization? Why were the Titans so successful in the early days that they need to recapture to bring this organization out of the basement? Well, I mean, the early days had a general manager who was all ball all the time, knew what he was doing, and that's how you ended up with Steve McNair and Eddie George and Javon Curse and Keith Bullock and all of those guys. Cole says, to your point of the Titans not being able to develop a quarterback, as well as the history that we have learned of the Titans blowing smoke about the person they want to draft, the recent news of Dak Prescott being available and listening to trade talks with the Browns, would it not make sense to be involved for Dak, who is already developed? So I saw that some guy in Cleveland said that the Browns had talked about Dak Prescott. I don't think Dak Prescott's getting traded. Jerry's already given him all that signing bonus money. Jerry's a cheap ass. Again, talking about, hey, no matter what. See, this is like someone says, well, what's our hope for the Titans organization? Let me ask you this question. What's your hope for the Raider organization? Like, do you look at the Raiders run by Mark Davis, who's a stooge, and think to yourself, man, that team has a chance to get its head out of its ass? What's your hope for the Cowboys? Jake, are you a Cowboy fan?
I am not.
What's your hope for the Cowboys? You know, to compete for the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl anytime soon.
I mean, I think in the NFC, they've got a better chance because you're not facing that gauntlet of quarterbacks, but I don't have much hope for them competing anytime soon.
And why is that?
Because Jerry Jones clearly doesn't know how to build a team.
Yes, Jerry. That's why. And I'm saying this as a Titan fan, that's us. Like, that's us. This organization is so poorly run. The way we look at the Cowboys, the way that we look at the Raiders, the way that we look at the Browns, the way that we look at these horrible organizations, that's us. Like, that's us. And it is so depressing. One texter said, Game of Thrones level drama going on in the front office. If the Titans weren't the Titans and the Titans were a team that the national media cared about, like the Giants or the Jets, they'd have some national reporter in here who'd have some massive story about how much of a train wreck it is. The problem is Diana Rossini dropped one of those about how bad it is with the Jets. That's how we found out about the Madden football ratings being the determining factor there. The problem is the Diana Rossinis of the world don't care enough about the Titans. So we won't get that. I would love for a Don Van Natta Jr. or a Seth Wickersham or even a Diana Rossini or one of these people to just stick their nose in the Titans business and let you all in. Now, half of you would say, I don't believe that. But the other half, I think, would probably get it. 615-737-1025. Former Titan receiver Chris Sanders joins us next on the program. It's Stillman & Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is Boom Bob's Pizza and Watch Bar. Just in time for the tournament, score half off a $30 gift card and enjoy their award-winning pizza and handcrafted beverages. Visit them in Nashville, Spring Hill, or Murfreesboro. Visit theGameNashville.com/deals now while supplies last. So I want to read this text before we get to Chris Sanders. One texter says, Jared, people are completely ignoring the fact that Robbie Bourne being fired after 28 years isn't a big deal. But it is a sample size of the negative dysfunctional culture running rampant inside the Titans organization. I think that is very well said. Chris Sanders joins us now on the program. Chris, we start there. You've known Robbie Bourne for a long time.
A long time.
And
listen, he was, oh, wow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I want to get your thought on this. I had a former coach text me today saying that Robbie was one of his favorite employees. You know,
Absolutely.
Joe Retrode called him clueless. Paul went off on it today. My thing is this. I know Robbie Bourne does a good job. I know he stands for all the right things. I know it's not so much people are saying, oh, well, we don't care about the PR director, or, oh, well, that's your friend. That's not what I mean.
Come on, man.
My thing is, this is the kind of guy that you don't fire.
Wow.
And the Titans think they're so smart that they fired. I want your reaction to that because you've known him for a long time.
He's a good dude, and not just he's a good dude. He builds relationship with the players because there's a lot of PR guys that just do their job. And with Robbie, he built a relationship. He talked to you. And I don't get it. And the funny thing about it, you just said it is the first time me hearing about actually he being fired. So why would you fire a guy that's been basically a foundation of what you've been doing? He's a PR guy. He's out there doing what you want him to do. So why is him being one of the guys that you're firing? I don't understand it. That's just my personal view. I don't understand because he's been there. He's been there when we started. He's been there when we were losing. He's been there when we were winning. Then all of a sudden, what did he do to actually get fired? I don't understand.
Well, I'm going to tell you what it is. I think what it is incompetence at the very top. And I yesterday said that the Robbie Bourne move, and again, to me, it wasn't the one thing, but it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. It was a move that told me that Burke Nihill, the CEO of the Titans, he doesn't know what he's doing. And Chad Brinker doesn't know what he's doing. And it has gutted any hope I've had about them turning this around, Chris.
You know, but here's the weird thing. It's kind of like, I think it was maybe 2 years ago. I can't remember when they fired the equipment guy, Hoss. He's like Hoss. Hoss has been there for years and years. He's been there when we were with the Houston Oilers. He's one of those guys that you actually love. And just, you know, hearing that Robbie's gone, and I'm just saying this because we're on the air. Robbie was a very good dude, man. And I don't understand what firing him has to do with you winning football games, because the thing about it is he brought, I mean, he didn't smile a lot. He was strictly with his business, but he built relationship with the guys, and that's what you want when you have a PR guy like that.
I'm telling you, my thing is that the people in charge of this organization don't know what they're doing. That's what I'm telling you this is. And it gives me a serious concern when it comes to making other decisions that are, again, no disrespect to Robbie, but more important than the PR guy, that they'll screw those up too because they don't know what they're doing. That's my opinion of it, Chris.
Yeah, but see, you want guys in here that have the same vision that you have. And ever since I met Robbie, that's exactly what he did. I watch how he talked to Steve there. I watch how he talked to Eddie George. I watch how he talked to, the Freak, all those guys. And I'm trying to figure out and wrap my brain around this whole thing that firing the PR guy that's been there from day one, what does that have to do with now? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I know I keep being redundant. I know Parker Harsey's going to say something goofy, which I don't give a dang gummit. And he makes it seem like it doesn't make any difference. But at the end of the day, it's about bringing the right people in. And I don't think letting this guy go was the right thing to do. That's just my opinion.
I'm telling you, they think that their people are going to be better than the people that are already here.
But who's their people, though? You see what I'm saying? Who's their people? I mean, what can bringing another PR guy in do what Robbie couldn't do?
I agree with you. And the other thing I think that I think it's bad for the culture inside the organization. That
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
A guy that shows up every day that has, again, think about this. The respect of me, the respect of you, the respect of Paul, those are some.
Absolutely.
me and Paul probably a little different than you in terms of how harsh a critics we are, but you're a player, so you're on a different side of it. You know, I had, a former coach texted me about this saying that he couldn't believe it. And so it's like, again, who are you going to hire that's better than the person that everybody says is really good at what they do? That's the problem, is their heads are so far up their asses that they think they know the answer when, again, just keep the guy you have. And again, it's not just about the PR guy for me, Chris. It's about the fact that if you're going to screw that up, you're probably going to screw other things. You're probably going to screw up quarterback. You're probably going to screw up head coach. You're probably going to screw up all these other things.
Yes, I'm a CEO of a company. I'm going to bring people in there that are going to do their jobs and do it right. Ever since Robbie has been there, there's never been nothing negative that he said. There's never been nothing negative that he's done wrong. He's always been at the right spot at the right time. Those are the kind of cats that you want to bring in an organization. I don't care if it's a little league football team. I don't care if it's a high school team. You want to bring people in there that are doing their job. And for knowing Robbie all these years, he would consistently be in the right spot. I mean, even me not even playing in the NFL, if I call and ask him for something, he would call me back and make sure I had it. That's the kind of cat that he was. So I don't understand it, and I respect the Tennessee Titans. I'll never say nothing bad about my organization. But just like when you fired Hoss, the equipment manager, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, this is a head scratcher.
Okay, so then I ask you this question. Paul said today when talking about Cam Ward, he said that Cam Ward might be a very good player, and the Titans organization might be the problem here and might screw him up. I wonder this. How many of these young players go into organizations and we look at him and say, oh, he was a bust, he was no good, and how much of it is the organization screwing him up more so than the player not being good enough?
Yeah, but see, the thing about it is when you bring a quarterback into your organization, you got to put him in a situation to make him to make sure he excels. And the way you make him excel is making sure you're surrounding himself with people, with the right coaches that's going to challenge him, that's not going to coddle him, but bring out greatness in what he needs to do. So, you see it all the time around the league that you bring a great quarterback in and you look at his career and it just doesn't pan out. You got to look at the coach, and I'll never put a coach down, and that's just not what I do. But at the end of the day, the player is a reflection of your coach. So if you're a great coach and you're developing his skill set, developing his confidence, developing everything that he needs to know, then you've done your job. But if he consistently gets worse and he consistently throws interceptions and he consistently does the same thing, then it's not a reflection on the player. It's a reflection of what the coach is doing, and that's kind of what it is.
Chris, what'd you think of Cam Ward's pro day?
Listen, I absolutely loved it. And the reason why I loved it, it's not about what he did on the last throw. It's not what he did, throwing all the great passes. Here's what I loved about the whole pro day is what the heck he said afterwards. Listen, let me tell you what he said afterwards when he did the interview with Rand Carthon. He said this. He said, I want to be a quarterback that's throwing on rhythm. I want to get depth in the pocket. I want to climb the pocket when I need to. And then after that, he started to dissect the secondary. So the reason why I really thought this pro day was good is not that he just showed his skill set of throwing the football. He showed his mind that he's not just a guy that can be a great athlete. He's a smart quarterback. When he dissected the safeties and he dissected the Tampa 2, all that stuff, and then about climbing the pocket, it just shows you he's mature in years. He's not just a running quarterback. He's not just a quarterback that extends the pocket. He's a smart quarterback, and that's what I loved about the pro day.
Chris Sanders, as always, on our program. He is the best. Chris, appreciate it, as always.
Appreciate you, brother. Love you, man. He's out.
Yep, Chris Sanders on our program. So I just want you guys to think about it, again, for the people that are like, it's not a big deal that they fired the PR director. The nicest guy in the world, Chris Sanders, cannot believe it and is dumbfounded and thinks it's ridiculous. And Paul Kuharsky, the meanest guy in the world, thinks it's ridiculous and is dumbfounded by it. What's that tell you? 615-737-1025. Coming up next on the program, the Predators are starting to do something that I don't like. We'll get to it next. 1025, the Game of the Bavarian Beer House have teamed up to give away tickets to see Billy Idol and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts at Bridgestone Arena in the all-inclusive Eurostone Club on Saturday, May 17th. Tune in to Chase and Big Joe tomorrow during the 9 a.m. hour for the keyword to text in for your chance to win tickets. Bavarian Beer House, located at Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy traditional German beer, brats, giant pretzels, and more, and their expansive beer hall and garden. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game National Studios, and we are presented by the Southern Bank of Tennessee. I've got a bone to pick with the Predators. Stop winning. The season is over. We all had very high hopes going into it. It started off 0-5. It's been an absolute abomination of a season. They've tried everything. It hasn't worked for whatever reason. The free agent spending didn't work. The guys that were good last year weren't good this year. The coach that was great last year wasn't good this year. It's been a freaking train wreck of a season. And I've accepted it. I've accepted it. And I have hope for this organization. I have hope for next season. I have hope for the long term. I have hope. But my hope is tied with the idea that the Predators are going to get to do something that they really haven't ever gotten to do. And that is pick very, very high in this year's upcoming NHL draft. There are 3 high-end prospects, a defenseman and 2 centers, Hagens from BC and Misa from Canada. And the Predators need one of those 2 players. Now, the good news is they need to just figure out a way. That's all they need. They just need to figure out a way to end up in the top 3, because San Jose is going to want the defenseman no matter what. So if they end up number 1 and you end up number 2 or 3, you still get one of the forwards because San Jose is taking the defenseman. And the Predators don't need the defenseman. They need the big boy center. And so yesterday, I was very, very happy. Got out at 5 o'clock because the Predators pregame comes on at 5 when they play on the East Coast with a 6 o'clock start at Carolina. I was very tired yesterday. So get off the air at 5 o'clock. I listened to Barry Trotz on with Robbie. It was good. Then I go on about my day. I get in the car and I hear that Michael Bunting has scored and the Predators are up 1-0. And I'm like, uh-oh. Don't win this one. And guess what? They beat Carolina last night, and Carolina is actually a good team. Carolina's got 90 points on the season, and the Predators went on the road and beat them. That's bad. This time last year, that's good. This year, bad. They need that high pick. And I'm going to tell you all right now, I've talked to Barry Trotz pretty much every week during the course of the season. And I've heard him talk about the plan with the young guys, with Mullendijk and Gibson and Wood and Kemmel and Edstrom and all these young guys they've got coming up the pipe. And I'm not very optimistic about them because when I look at the prospect gurus, none of them rank them as elite prospects in the NHL. Barry likes them, but they're not, in my opinion, they're not put in there as elite prospects. They need the elite prospect from the draft, and they have to get him with one of the top 3 picks. And then there's Philadelphia. Philadelphia has 3 more points than the Predators, but the Predators have 2 games in hand. So they're really neck and neck. The Predators in their last 10 are 5-4-1. Philadelphia is 1-8-1, and they've lost 6 in a row. 6. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable. Philadelphia is going to jump the Predators. Buffalo, who's only 2 points ahead of the Predators, and they have a game in hand. Buffalo might jump the Predators. I'm scared to death because the only hope that I have for this team is that they get that high pick. That's my only source of optimism. Next year, I think they'll be better because I think the 0-5 start really doomed them, and I think they have to really figure out if Jonathan Marchessault wants to be here or not. But I think Barry Trotz is going to bring the coach back, which I wouldn't do. You know I cannot stand the goaltender. We'll get to him in a second. I cannot stand the goaltender. I think he is so over-freaking rated. Not sure I love the core of this roster. And again, the young guys that are coming up, I like Mullendijk. But other than that, I think that they're all probably average NHLers. Kind of like Evangelista, an average NHLer. They need to get the star. And they have to do that again, by finishing in the top 3. And not only that, you got to hope the ping pong balls go your way. Stop winning. Now, full disclosure, I did go to the game on Saturday, and because my girlfriend is Canadian and from Toronto, and we were with her friends, they're big Leafs fans, and I did have fun, as the Leafs went up 2-0, and all the Leafs fans in our section started high-fiving, including some of our crew. I did have fun. They gave away these little gold towels. I did have fun waving the towel in the Canadians' faces, on Saturday night. But again, big picture, you need the draft pick. In fact, I've got the tankathon.com up. You can sim the lottery, and I feel like almost every time I sim it, I just simmed it right now. Nashville's picking 5th. Philly number 1, Seattle number 2, San Jose number 3, Nashville 5th. Let's sim it again. Nashville 3rd. Okay. That I can live with. Chicago 1, San Jose 2, Nashville 3. Sim it again. Nashville 4th. They need a top 3 pick. If they do not, when this team started off poorly this year, I wasn't devastated. I thought they'd figure it out. When I realized they weren't going to figure it out around early November, I was disappointed, but I wasn't angry, or I just said, look, this is going to be a lost season. When the Predators started to admit that it was a lost season, started trading guys off, started, again, kind of moving forward, dumping salary, I was cool with it. But the only thing I've been holding on hope to is that they're going to get one of these top 3 players in the draft. And if they win too many games and they don't end up with one of these top 3 picks, I don't know where my optimism for this franchise is going to be. And I know Barry Trotz doesn't like talking about losing, and he must hate it every time he comes on. And I'm like, stop winning. And he's like, well, I'm an old coach. I'll never say it. Well, if you want to build a winner in the future, you need for it to happen. We hate admitting it because it's not fun. It's never fun to say, I want to lose. I get it. But again, I want to lose right now so my team will win a lot more in the future. That's what they need. That's what they need desperately. And yet, they beat the Leafs. They beat Carolina. I mean, now, good thing is St. Louis is red hot. They're coming in tomorrow. You want St. Louis to win tomorrow. You do not want the Predators to win another game the rest of the year. And I've got friends that watch every game religiously, and every time they text me about, I can't watch this anymore, just suck it up. Winning is bad. They need to lose the rest of the year. Lose, lose, lose. Get that high pick. Then next year, win, win, win. So I'm starting to get super worried that the one thing I'm holding on hope to is that the Predators are going to get a high pick in this year's draft, and I can feel it slipping away. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Plus, the one thing about the winning that is truly starting to piss me off, we'll get to that next, other than the fact that it's hurting their draft stock. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 1025, 106 through the game. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. Hiller takes great care of my home. They can do the exact same for you. I absolutely love Hiller, and nobody wants to deal with a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical emergency. So the fact that I love the company that takes care of my home with all of those negative things tells you how great they are. Because again, I only use them when something's wrong or when I'm trying to renovate something. And most of the time you don't know when you have that emergency what it'll cost, if it'll get fixed correctly, or if someone's trying to sell you something. Don't worry about it with Hiller. Trust me on that, because I use Hiller at my home. With Hiller, their experts will solve your problems quickly, and they're experts too. I could give you every time I've used them, and they're like, oh, that guy helped me out right there. The price you're told is the price you'll actually pay with Hiller, with no hidden fees or surprises on your bill. So book online now by visiting happyhiller.com. That's the way I book Hiller to my home. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds of Vols and Vandy. Hiller, call the Head Truck today.
Plays it back to Evangelista, who shoots. Saved by Kochetkov, looking for the hat trick. And that's it. Preds win 3-1 over the Hurricanes. Jussi Saros ties his season high with 34 saves. Luke Evangelista scores 2 goals. And the Preds get it done on the road, beating the Hurricanes 3-1.
Oh, there you go. They beat the Hurricanes. Jussi Saros season high in saves, and the Predators are ruining the draft pick. Stop winning. We want to lose. So then in the future, they can get a really, really good player this year and then win a lot more in the future. And so I get sick to my stomach thinking about the Predators not getting one of those top picks. Getting a top 3 pick in this year's draft is the only hope that I have for the franchise. And maybe that's pessimistic, and I'm kind of a pessimistic guy, but that's all I got for you. Here's the other thing that's starting to piss me off. Did you guys notice that this season, Jussi Saros was a complete and total train wreck for the first 2/3 of the year? Then all of a sudden, the Predators waved the white flag, And Barry starts talking openly about how this season's over and they're not even clinging for life anymore. And now UC Saros has turned into a good goalie. Gee, imagine that. Last night, 34 saves on 35 shots. That was basically a goalie steal last night. Against Toronto, 26 saves on 24 shots. Against Anaheim, and granted, he only faced 15 shots and he only made 13 saves and they lost. But again, in his last 5 performances, he's had over a 9 save percentage 4 times. 971, 923, 967, 926. That's good. UC Saros is actually playing well. And isn't it amazing that when you really want UC Saros to play well, like in the playoffs, he doesn't? When this team got off to an 0-5 start to start the season, I thought, well, where's this great goalie? Because last year after the Vancouver series, I declared, and I wasn't the only one, but after the Vancouver series, I said, that's enough for me. I cannot give this guy an 8-year contract. If this guy, and I think Saros signed like a 3-year or 4-year, $5 million contract, which is what he's on now. If I could get him on a deal like that, okay, we can talk. But I know what goalies are going for, and it's going to be 8 years, and it's going to be $8 million, $8.5 million. Now they got him for $7.74, but we're talking about saving $250,000. I wouldn't do it. He doesn't win you enough playoff games. And everybody said, well, but Jared, he's a Vezina caliber goalie, and he's a this, and he's a that, and he's... I'm like, okay, why can't he ever win in the playoffs? Why could he not beat Arizona, who doesn't even have a team anymore? Why could he not beat Arizona in that bubble series? He's been the Predators goalie for 5 years. He took the job from Pekka in 2020 for 5 years, and they have 0 playoff series wins. And I'm committed to him for the next 8 years. I didn't want to do that. And we called it the station civil war because half of the station said, move on, go to Askarov, and go on about your business. The other half, Willie and Derek and Ian, all said, oh no, Saros, he's a great goalie. You got to re-sign him. He's a great goalie when it doesn't matter. When they started off 0-5, where was Saros to steal some of these games? The first game of the year. And again, I'm not making excuses here because I'm not a big believer in excuses, but I also talk about this all the time with the NHL. Nobody can ever have a team that is this is Stanley Cup or bust, because the margins in these playoff series, once you get to the second round, these margins are so small. The difference between a team whose season ends on May 3rd and a team who wins the cup in June is so small. And so I am always aware of that. The first game of the year, with all the hype and all the money spent and all the new players, they lost to Dallas 3-2. Steven Stamkos hit a post with 10 seconds left. And I said to somebody at some point, I said, imagine if that puck goes in the net and the Predators win that game at Dallas. They come back. I think they were down 2-0 or 3-0 at one point. They come back, and Steven Stamkos, the new free agent signing, lights it up with 10 seconds to go, and they get in overtime, and they win the game. And instead of starting off 0-5, they start off at least 1-0. And how different I think the season might have gone just with that one little thing. Well, guess what? That Dallas game, UC Saros didn't play. Season opening game, he wasn't ready. He was sick that day. Okay, well, Michael Jordan was sick in the NBA Finals and dropped 40 points. So when I need UC Saros, he's nowhere to be found. But when the season is over and I'm tearing it down, UC Saros turns into Dominic Hasek. If you notice that, 2 years ago, after they blew it up and they traded Jeannot and they traded Granlund, they traded Ekholm, they traded all those guys, Niederreiter, UC Saros won them like 7 games in a row and got them back into the playoff picture. They didn't make the playoffs because they had dug themselves such a deep hole, but he got them back in it because nobody plays better when it doesn't matter than UC Saros. And I'm tired of it. And so here's Jussi Saros after a terrible first 2/3 of the season with this new 8-year contract. Now that Saros has already ruined the first part of the year, and now here he is to go steal the second part, which is the top draft pick that they have to have. I cannot stand Saros, and I cannot stand how this organization thinks he's so much better than he is. Cannot stand it. And if he cost them this draft pick, I'm going to lose it. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Randy says, Jared, you're nuts. Go, Preds, go. Yes, go to the bottom and get that player and then go next year. One texter says, Barry Trotz needs to package 2 of the first-round picks to get the first pick in the draft. That's Joel from Woodbury. That's not how this works. The amount of people out there that think that you could just trade for the number 1 pick in the draft. You know, the Titans said yesterday via Adam Schefter, and Mike Borgonzi's quoted in a story that Jim Wyatt wrote, they're still entertaining people's phone calls with the number 1 pick. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Edmonton said, hey, go ahead and call us about the number 1 pick the year McDavid was on the board? Of course not. These teams don't want to trade when there's elite players there. Did you notice that nobody called Chicago last year? Washington said don't call. And New England said to move off of Drake May at 3, it has to be historic. And that's what they said to the media. That's what they said to the Giants because we saw the call on Hard Knocks. You can't trade for those picks. You have to get them. Like when Connor Bedard was on the board, you could have offered Bridgestone Arena to Chicago and they wouldn't have taken it. So this idea that, they should do this. One texter says, why lose when stupid ping pong balls are involved? So you get more ping pong balls, Mike and Lebanon. One texter said, is there a McKinnon or McDavid in this draft? How can you know if a top 3 guy this year will be that guy? So apparently there's a defenseman and then there's the 2 forwards, Misa and Hagens. And they say that Misa and Hagens are legit. Now, they don't think that they're McDavid or McKinnon, but they think they're legit. Good enough for me? Again, not Bedard, not Celebrini. Apparently next year, somebody told me that Bedard's cousin, I think it was one of my girlfriend's friends that I went to the game with the other night, the Toronto game. And I was, again, her friends from Toronto were with us. And one of them, was like, yeah, I'm kind of a big hockey fan. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I was talking to Hal for a second. And that guy was like, I saw you over there talking to Hal Gill. I was like, you know who Hal Gill is? Yeah. I was like, you must really like hockey. And he was telling me that apparently Bedard's cousin is coming out next year and that Bedard's cousin might be better than Bedard. So maybe that'd be a reason to tank for next year. But right now I'm worried about tanking this year. One texter says, Jared, I agree with your takes 90% of the time, but the Predators have zero hope for the future. Connor McDavid could come here and he'd turn into a below average player. There are big problems on the inside that no one wants to address. Well, I do think they need to fire the coach. Now, if you're talking about bigger than that, if you're talking about Trotz, I'm not there. If you're talking about Sean Henry, I'm not there because I don't think Sean Henry plays a role as far as the deciding who to sign, who to trade, who to draft, who to any of that. And again, he was here when they were good. So I don't think that there's like some sort of festering cultural issue with the Predators. And it might be time for a new coach because this coach clearly isn't getting through to them, but unbelievable. One texter says, need to trade a first for Tage Thompson and get a real center in here. I don't know who that is. I am familiar of the name, but I don't really know who that is. So he's obviously not that good. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. When former talent evaluators that have gold jackets start talking about Titans prospects, I pay attention. What Bill Polian said about Cam Ward and who Bill Polian compares Cam Ward to. We'll do that next. Bill Polian's scouting report. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
There was a throw that you did on the roll, on the run, where you hit a dime, and it looked like you turned to the Titans brass, Chad Brinker and Mike Gorzanzi, and said something to him.
Yeah.
What
they
did
know
you
I
say
said.
to him?
I said, I'm solidifying it today.
You solidified
what I
it today.
said.
Locking it up.
They heard you. They laughed.
I made sure they heard me. So.
There you go. That was Cam Ward after the pro day. So there are certain people whose opinions I care about, and there are certain people whose opinions I do not whatsoever care about. And so when it comes to all the draft gurus that exist out there nowadays, they're like, did you hear what so-and-so had to say? Did you hear? And I'm like, I don't know who that is. Who is that? Oh, they write for such and such. Okay. Then there are some people whose opinions I really care about. I really care about. Guys with gold jackets, their opinions matter. Bill Polian has a gold jacket. Took 4 Buffalo Bills teams to the Super Bowl and obviously drafted Peyton Manning in Indianapolis and won one there. And Bill Polian was on SiriusXM NFL radio, and he was asked about Cam Ward after watching Cam Ward's pro day and breaking down Cam Ward. And here's what Bill Polian said. This is Bill Polian's scouting report and the comp that Bill Polian has. Play the comp.
What we've seen of Cam Ward, if you watch the tape, you see a guy who physically reminds me, ironically, of Steve McNair, the great quarterback that unfortunately passed away too early for the Tennessee Titans, who we had to play against far too much in Indianapolis. Yeah. And of course, I was in Carolina when Steve came out, so we did extensive work on him. Cam, no one had quite the arm dexterity that Steve had. The Mahomes, maybe. Yeah. Cam isn't there. He's not in that league, but his arm is outstanding. His release is really good. He can throw off any platform. That's not a good thing necessarily, by the way, as you know, but he can. And he deserves great credit for his rise from Incarnate Word, which is a low Division I school, not a high level of competition, transferred to Washington State, did a great job there, and then comes into Miami and sets the world on fire there. So,
how about this? The comparison to Steve McNair. And some people will say, well, but Nate Tice said it. And I mean, no disrespect to Nate Tice, but Nate Tice is not Bill Polian. Now, Polian makes the Steve McNair comp. And if you told me that Cam Ward will be Steve McNair, which is a franchise quarterback, a league MVP, a Pro Bowl quarterback, if you're telling me that that's what you think Ward's going to be, then I would say he's worth the number 1 pick. But you did notice how Bill Polian said he didn't have the same arm dexterity that Steve McNair had, and said that Steve McNair's arm dexterity is comparable only to that of Mahomes. That is something. Now, I see them a little differently. Granted, I didn't watch McNair in college, but Steve McNair was a pocket passer who could run. McNair would stand in the pocket and deliver the ball and deliver it on time, but if something broke down, McNair would take off. And McNair was so big and so strong that he could lower down and knock over a linebacker. I don't think Cam Ward is that big. Now, he's talking about when McNair was coming out, and I don't remember McNair when McNair was coming out because I was 5 years old. But the difference I see between what McNair did and what I see in Cam Ward, which is actually a good thing, is that McNair, in my opinion, didn't throw on the run as much as today's quarterbacks do. Think of Josh Allen and obviously Patrick Mahomes. When I think of McNair, I kind of think of Joe Burrow's game. I think they're kind of similar players. Burrow is the better player, but, Burrow is very slippery when it comes to the pocket, but Burrow's not going to go, run and turn to the side and drop it down and fire it down. That's what Allen does. That's not what McNair does. And Ward's biggest strength to me, the thing that I think is capable of making him into a star, is his ability to throw off platform. again, which Mahomes can do very well. And Polian recognized it, and Polian's basically saying when he goes, now that can get you in trouble too. Like, that is a bad thing. Because most guys that can throw off platform aren't like Mahomes, where he can run around, throw off platform, and hit a receiver right in the hands. Most of the time, they run around, try to throw off platform, and it ends up in the defender's arms. The second thing, though, that Polian brought up is something that worries me greatly when it comes to the Titans' ability to maximize Cam Ward's talent. Play the cut.
Secondly, and this applies to Cam Ward in a big way, those that have played in the spread offense coming in have a very, very, very steep learning curve, because the spread offense, they wait for somebody to come open in the spread offense. In pro offenses, they can't. The rushers are too good. You have to throw on time and trust that the receiver is going to be there, and you have to put the ball where it needs to be. So it's a huge, huge, huge jump for those guys into the NFL. As an example, it took the guy in Tampa Bay, who was the number one pick in the draft, a long while. It took him a long while to find his way. So it's a big jump.
So he's talking about, hey, they come from the spread offense, and in college, it's wait for the guy to get open and throw it. In the NFL, expect the guy will be there and throw him open. And he's talking about, hey, it's an adjustment period. And look at Baker Mayfield, and look at the adjustment period that it took him. And that's what worries me. Let's say Cam Ward is Steve McNair. Granted, Cam Ward played a lot in college, and it's not like Cam Ward's going from Incarnate Word to the NFL. He's going from Miami to the NFL. But let's say they take Cam Ward. The day the Titans, the Oilers, drafted Steve McNair, Floyd Reese went to the media and said he's sitting for 2 years. And he sat and developed for 2 years. They're not going to do that for Cam Ward. They're going to draft Cam Ward. They're going to stick Cam Ward out there with a head coach who's on the hot seat, which means that coach will probably get fired, and then they'll bring in another coach for Cam Ward. Does that sound like a good idea? So when I hear the second thing about Bill Polian saying, hey, it takes these guys a while to adjust from the spread offense in college to the NFL, I'm like, oh, God, that's going to be bad. Oh, that's going to be bad. We don't even know if Brian Callahan's a good coach. If I had to bet, like if the cartel had my family and I had to bet on Brian Callahan, I wouldn't. But at the same time, like, there's going to be this big learning curve, and I just don't know if the Titans are going to be able to have that kind of patience and develop the guy. I asked Trevor yesterday. I said, what do you think about sitting Cam Ward? He's like, oh, I'd sit. Oh, yes, sit him. I'm sure Titan fans didn't want to hear that. But again, Bill Polian does make the comparison to Steve McNair. And he said, ironically enough, again, talking about the fact that McNair played for the Titans. Titan fans ought to love that. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Giants have signed a new quarterback. The Titans have signed a new quarterback. And Cleveland, let's not rule out Cleveland in this mix. They got a little something up their sleeve. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
They put themselves between a rock and a hard place, because if you were starting over with a new coach, look, I don't fire people. It's not my job to do that. I'm not telling them they should have. But, I mean, John Mara made it as clear as he possibly could in an interview in New York with Bruce Beck when he said, this better start winning in a hurry. I'm losing my patience. Well, when you say that, you're saying we need to win now. You're telling your general manager and your coach, you guys have to win now. And that does not conflate with what should be the strategy for the Giants right now, which is a long-term strategy. Your over-under in Vegas is 3.5 wins, for crying out loud. So if you love the quarterback now, then you take him. But you put yourself into a trick box here, and that's what bothers me about this.
Greeny, even Greeny's getting in and kicking the Giants. So one texter asks, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One texter said, what do you think of the Titans signing Tim Boyle and the New York Giants signing Russell Wilson? So let's just go over the top 3 teams of the draft right now. The Titans signed Tim Boyle and James Prochet. Now, I think James Prochet, and I'd have to look it up, but I think he can return punts. So that may have something to do with why they brought in James Prochet. I don't think these are big deals. Tim Boyle, I don't understand where Tim Boyle would make this team. Like, I do not see where Tim Boyle ends up making the Titans. If they end up getting Cam Ward with the number 1 pick, they're going to trade Will Levis, and then it's going to be Cam Ward and Brandon Allen. They're not going to carry Tim Boyle as a third quarterback. If they end up not drafting Cam Ward, boy, will a lot of Twitter Titan fans be mad. If they end up not getting Cam Ward, and let's say they run it back with Levis, which I don't think they'll do, well, then Levis is the quarterback and Brandon Allen's the backup, or Brandon Allen's the quarterback and Levis is the backup, or something like that. And they'll be god-awful. But again, I don't know where Tim Boyle fits into this. So Tim Boyle is a Scarbini's Scarbini. He is a backup of epic proportions. You know, he's not even a Brandon Allen backup. I'd argue he's not even a Josh Dobbs backup. He's an Aaron Rodgers buddy. Maybe it's a tell that the Titans could get on Aaron, but I would be freaking stunned if the Titans did. So I make nothing of the Titans signing Tim Boyle. The Giants yesterday signing Russell Wilson. I was a little surprised. But then when you look at it, Russell signing for a deal up to $21 million, but 10.5. So 10.5 for Russell, $4 million guaranteed for Jameis. Well, that's 14.5. You can still draft Shedeur Sanders or draft Cam Ward or draft somebody. And I bet by the time training camp is about over, there will be a team that needs a backup quarterback that will offer you a 6th for Jameis Winston and his $4.5 million salary. And I don't know how much of that signing bonus either, which the Giants would have already paid. But you're not locked into anything if you're the Giants. The third thing is the Browns. So the Browns hold the number 2 pick. And today, the Browns are working Cam Ward out, private workout. The Browns didn't send anybody to the pro day. And the Cleveland media couldn't believe it. I think they had an assistant general manager who played at Miami, who was the only Browns real representative at the pro day. And they said, Tennessee sent everybody. And New York sent everybody but Brian Daboll. And the Saints sent everybody to the Cam Ward pro day. But the Browns didn't. Well, the Browns are holding a private workout. Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, all there working out Cam Ward. Tony Grossi, who has covered the Browns forever, the kind of guy that Floyd told me, hey, if Tony Grossi says it about the Browns, it's probably true, says that the more he hears, the more it seems like Shedeur Sanders is in legitimate play for the Browns at number 2. So the Giants signed Russell Wilson. I think in all of these cases, all 3 teams, these quarterback moves are all insurance. Tim Boyle, it's, hey, you know what? If we have to have a backup that is Tim Boyle, if everything else fails, Tim Boyle can be a backup and he can be here and he can play in preseason games and he can be a camp on. The Giants. If we have to play with Russell Wilson, we can play with Russell Wilson. The Browns. If Cam Ward falls to us at number 2, we want to make sure we're ready to be able to play Cam Ward, and so we need to work him out. If Shedeur Sanders is there, maybe we take him. If not, well, we have the insurance option of Kenny Pickett. I think that's all this is. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Justin says, what if they do plan on running it back with Will Levis? Well, I'm not going to say that's the smartest thing they can do because Will Levis is awful, and I actually think Brandon Allen would beat him out for the job. But it would tell me that the Titans are not all that interested in Cam Ward, and it would tell me that the Titans have decided, yeah, we're going to be bad this year, but we're going to have a high pick, plus we're going to have the high pick next year, and then we're going to fire Brian Callahan, and we're going to get our coach, and then our coach, whether it's Mike McCarthy because of Chad Brinker, whether it's Matt Nagy because of Mike Borgonzi, our coach will then have a hand in picking our quarterback. I wouldn't want to live through it, but at least it's a plan. I mean, Levis is so bad. And the Titans have done everything they could to screw him up, but he's bad. Dylan says, I don't think anyone would be making the Steve McNair comparison to Cam Ward if the Titans weren't picking one. Like, if it were the Giants or somebody else, they wouldn't say it. It's just the franchise connection. Another Dylan says, remember, they compared Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown. So here's where I'm going to say we need to address the they here. Saying, well, I don't think anyone would compare him to McNair if it wasn't the Titans. Well, we're talking about Bill Polian here. Well, they compared Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown. Bill Polian didn't compare Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown. Bill Polian has a gold jacket. He is a Hall of Famer. His opinion matters more. So I do think there's some credence to the McNair comparison. But then I would ask, are you going to be willing to do what the Titans did with McNair, which was sit him on the bench? And the answer to that is no. One texter into the text line, Will on Music Row says, same question I asked PK this morning. Can we define success for next year? 2 weeks ago, no fan wanted Cam Ward. Now we're all obsessed. If they draft him and he fails, it'll be Chad Brinker's fault. If he's successful, it will prove that Rand Carthon was the problem. What is a realistic, successful outcome for next year organizationally? Well, I don't know if it's realistic or not, but if you draft a quarterback, you want to be where Washington and Houston are right now, which is Houston thinks they've got the guy. Is C.J. Stroud going to be that good long-term? Is he going to win Super Bowls? I don't know. But they think they've got the guy. And not like last year when Titan fans convinced themselves Will Levis, but like where yeah, if I had to give him $50 million a year today, I would. And the Texans would. Tyrod Taylor gets a lung punctured by a needle from a doctor. Herbert goes out, almost beats the Chiefs, and they feel like they've got the guy. That, I think, is the successful outcome. Is if you feel like you've got the guy, you're driving in the right direction. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. So there was a report yesterday. I did not ignore this report. But a lot of Titans fans seem to ignore it. And I'm like, am I the one guy, like, if I had glasses, I try to unfog them, I'm like, am I the one who's missing the story here? But I actually think it's you all. We'll get to that next. Company Company, 1025, 106.
Teammates, Bacon and Donnage are DVD. Tomorrow morning at 11. Your sports live here on 1025. Call Ponzi Law. We offer a no-fee guarantee.
ElectronicExpress.com for every moment of your day. Need access to funds for life's big moments? The equity in your home could be the key to greater financial freedom. An F&M Bank home equity line of credit can help make those moments possible. For a limited time, well-qualified customers can save with a special 3-month introductory rate of 4.99% APR, turning your home's value into an affordable reality. Call 800-645-4199, visit us in branch or at myfnbank.com/HELOC for additional terms, loan costs, and conditions. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member where every bite is a note in Nashville. Locations of 850,000. Are you ready to build something that matters? If you are looking for a rewarding career with competitive benefits and a supportive team, then Oshkosh Vocational is the place for you. Visit our website, oshkosh.com/careers to apply today and make a career of making a difference.
That's all. It's a Sonic Kicks the Soul.
I have no idea. This would be the mic that it's hooked up to, right?
Yeah.
Or the camera.
Yeah. Want me to take it out?
Everything's plugged in.
Let me unplug it then.
Izervay or vasoconstricted paper is a prescription eye injection used to treat. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye.
Perfect. What do you want to talk about? Right?
Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going.
With Wilson and Jameis Winston both joining the team in the last week. The Nashville Predators got a road win last night in Raleigh, beating Carolina 3-1. Luke Evangelista scored twice, and Jussi Saros earned his 200th career victory in net. You can tune in tonight for 3 hours of Preds coverage on 102.5 The Game with Preds Insiders at 6, the Preds official podcast 17 weather forecast.
On Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobis. This morning, starting off with temperatures in the 40s to right near 50 degrees. We'll be in the mid to upper 60s later on this afternoon. And just like the beginning of the week, we'll continue on a sunny streak. No rain in the forecast until the weekend.
For more, log on to theGameNashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network. From the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WBUZ HD2 Laverne. Your sports live here.
You have to bring it every single night, so I get all that.
We are the Game Nashville Sports Network on 102.5 and 106.3.
Everybody knows
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
The big stories.
I don't think these guys should pick the next quarterback.
Unfiltered opinions.
It's just the reality. The change, you don't go back.
On your drive home.
But I'm just calling balls and strikes the way I see it.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman.
No.
Presented by Southern Bank of Tennessee. Your sports live here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, and presented by the Southern Bank of Tennessee. So yesterday, Adam Schefter said that the Titans have become increasingly impressed with Cam Ward and said, quote, while they are expected to listen to offers for the number 1 overall pick, it would now take an even stronger path top selection. And yesterday, after that came down the pipe, Titan fans immediately jumped on Twitter and said, turn the card in. It's over. The draft starts at. And I'm like, do we read the same tweet? Because Adam Schefter just told you they're still listening when it comes to trading for the. Not, we love Cam Ward. But I have been on kind of the anti-drafting Cam Ward train because I don't think he'll be an elite quarterback. And if I had the first overall pick and I didn't think someone was going to be an elite quarterback and I didn't have to take a quarterback the way the Giants have to take a quarterback, I'm not going to take a quarterback. And Titans Twitter, who again saw that Schefter report and said, turn the card in, they've decided that Cam Ward is the next Patrick Mahomes. So I almost had to do a double take. I'm like, am I the one that's reading the Schefter tweet and report wrong? I went on the radio in Louisville this morning and they asked me, are the Titans going to take Cam Ward number 1? And I said, well, I mean, it looks that way, but at the same time, Adam Schefter said that they're listening. So if they're listening, then, and the hosts in Louisville were like, oh yeah, that means they're open for business. Today, Mike Borgonzi talked to Jim Wyatt on the Titans website, and Mike Borgonzi went on the record and said, quote, I would say everything is still on the table. From the beginning, I said I wanted to go through the whole process, and I felt like our priority was to build the offensive line first, and we added Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler. Now we're going through the process here with the college quarterbacks, but I'd say everything is still on the table right now. So again, they're saying we're open for business. But Titans Twitter's decided, no, what that means is we're taking Cam Ward. And I'm like, okay, am I the one who's getting this wrong? Again, I had to kind of wipe my glasses, though I don't have glasses, but I had to do like, hold on, am I the one who's saying this incorrectly? But apparently Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, he's not taking the bait either. Because here's what he wrote today. Quote, why is the door even open to a possible trade? If they think Ward is the guy, they need to make it clear to anyone who might call that there won't be a trade. That's what the Bengals did 5 years ago with Joe Burrow. The Dolphins were obsessed with trading to get up to Burrow. The Bengals refused to even listen. Of course, we argued at the time that the Bengals should listen, that they should be willing to consider what else they could get for the pick, because it wasn't 100% certain that they'd be getting a franchise quarterback in Burrow. But the Bengals were sold on Burrow, and the Titans are apparently sold on Ward, and the Titans apparently are sold on Ward. If they were as sold on Ward as the Bengals were sold on Burrow, they'd be refusing to listen. Florio continues. The concern comes from the lack of subtlety. It's one thing for the Titans to conclude privately that the price for the first pick has gone up. It's another thing for the information to be presented in a way that feels like a deliberate leak. That feels like an effort to get a better trade package. Not so they can reject it, but so they can accept it. That feels like they're hoping someone will make them an offer that they can't refuse. So I'm not the one who, again, I saw the Schefter report, and the Schefter report said to me, we're open for business. And Titans Twitter was like, turn the card in. I'm like, wait, that's not what that said to me. But maybe because, again, I wouldn't take Cam Ward number 1 overall. So maybe I am projecting my feelings onto it. But Florio said, no. This feels like the Titans are telling everybody, hey, we want a good package now, which means we want a good package so we can accept it. So here's what it feels like to me. I think the Titans probably like Cam Ward, but they probably don't love Cam Ward. As much as you guys on Twitter want to compare him to Mahomes, I don't think they see that. It would not surprise me if they have Ward as the top player on the board and at a premium position. But they probably also don't have him graded as highly as they'd want a franchise quarterback to be graded. Again, what did Mel Kiper Jr. say a month ago? He said J.J. McCarthy had a better grade last year coming out for him than Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. This is a bad draft. Blake Bedingfield, the former Titans director of college scouting, wrote at paulkaharski.com that Abdul Carter is a middle of the first round player, like around number 10 in most drafts. He's probably one of the top players in this draft. My guess is the Titans like Cam Ward, but they don't love Cam Ward. So do you take a quarterback that you like, but you don't love with the number 1 pick? That's the question. Again, maybe they love Cam Ward and maybe they're all in and they're all ready to risk their careers on Cam Ward because that's what they would be doing. And maybe they're ready to go. But if they were, they wouldn't be telling teams to call them. And when you tell Adam Schefter, hey, it would take a super package for us to deal Cam Ward, you're still saying we're open for business. That's what they're doing. Paul said after the combine, Paul reported that he knew the Titans wanted a first rounder next year. So if the Giants wanted to go from 3 to 1, drop your first rounder next year and Cam Ward's your guy. Well, I don't think that changed between the combine and now, even if they really, really like Cam Ward, but they don't love him. When it comes to drafting a quarterback number 1 overall, do you want to draft this quarterback and tie your career to this guy because he's the best guy available? Or do you want to go all in on a guy who you just foam at the mouth every time you think of him? And it reminds me again of what the Buffalo Bills did for Josh Allen or what the Kansas City Chiefs did for Patrick Mahomes. You do know that the Buffalo Bills made the playoffs in 2017. They drafted Josh Allen at 7 overall in 2018. The Buffalo Bills traded their first-round pick and their starting left tackle, a Pro Bowler by the name of Cordy Glenn, to the Cincinnati Bengals in order to move up in the first round before the draft. Then the Buffalo Bills traded that Cincinnati pick and 2 second-rounders to move up to 7 to draft Josh Allen. They loved him. They spent an entire year scouting the quarterbacks and hoping they'd have a crack at Allen. Kansas City loved Mahomes. They traded 2 firsts and a third, even with Alex Smith on their team, to move up to get him because they loved him. Cincinnati loved Joe Burrow. They told Miami, don't call. Last year, Washington said, don't call. Nobody bothered calling Chicago. They were taking Caleb Williams the whole time. Washington said, don't call. New England got the call from the Giants, and New England told the Giants it'll be historic for you to move up to make this deal for us to give you Drake May. The Titans aren't saying that. In fact, the Titans are on the record saying everything is still on the table. So what it sounds like to me is they like Cam Ward. They don't love Cam Ward. They don't want to pick Cam Ward. They want somebody to knock their socks off so that they can go into the season with whomever at quarterback. They'd probably have to go sign a veteran because I don't think you could do this with Brandon Allen, but they'd like to probably go into the season with somebody else at quarterback and 2 number 1s and an extra number 3 and something like that. Because why else would they keep telling everyone that the pick is open for business? Unless, they actually meant it. What benefit would that do to the Titans, who have control of the situation by picking Ward at number 1? What benefit would that do to tell Adam Schefter, yeah, we're still listening, and then privately saying, we're not listening, we love Cam Ward? That doesn't make any sense. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025, plus the latest in Cleveland and why Cleveland is holding a workout with Cam Ward. Again, Cleveland's got a private workout today with Cam Ward. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslam, all there. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Just trade back and then let your board dictate what you take.
Sports.
Yes, I'd rather have a first-round grade player too.
I don't think that they should go nuts looking for their franchise quarterback this year.
There is no Jaden Daniels in this draft. Your sports live here. On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity. So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah. Posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Now through April 17th, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and 1 unlimited mobile line together for $30 a month for 1 year and save $1,000 in your first year over Verizon and AT&T. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus 1 unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus 1 unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual speeds vary. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
Your home is like your car, and it needs regular maintenance to stay in top shape. That's why the trusted professionals at Lee Company recommend you invest in a home maintenance plan to ensure your home runs well all year long. For as low as $12 a month, Lee Company's award-winning team will visit your home 4 times a year to make sure your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical systems are running smoothly. Why wait for something to break? Visit LeeCompany.com today and get started. Lee Company, all you need.
Welcome to the Nissan Now sales event. Are you all right?
I wanted to get here before the best offers were gone.
You're just in time. Let me show you what we've got. There's the all-new Kicks. The sporty Sentra. Or our best-selling Rogue, a consumer guide Best Buy 11 years in a row. You must be exhausted.
I think I'm ready for my next adventure.
For the #1 shopping experience among non-luxury car buyers, according to J.D. Power, get to Nissan now. Now, get up to $1,250 total savings on the 2025 Nissan Sentra. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Total savings consists of $750 bonus cash back on 2025 Sentra SR trim only and $500 regional customer cash on 2025 Sentra excluding S trim. Bonus cash available on lease purchase from new dealer stock. Regional customer cash not available with INMAX special APR or special lease programs. Customer cash subject to residency restrictions. Must take delivery from new dealer stock. See dealer for details. Offers end 3/31/25.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue is your home for hockey action all season long. They are Predators approved and all the games are on, and they'll even give you the sound. Get awesome game day drink specials on Blue Note Bourbon and Black Abbey Beer. When you think hockey, think Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, or Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue. Go Preds!
Who's cutting down the nets this year? Get in on all the tournament action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Go from tracking the latest upsets to placing bets in just a few taps. Right now, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code USL to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
Stillman and Company always gets reaction, not only from listeners, but for advertisers. This is General Manager Sean Ford. 102.5 The Game listeners love supporting our advertisers. Let us show you how you can be a part of the program. Email at together@cromwellmedia.com.
This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
As far as the Tennessee Titans go, my understanding, despite the fact that they haven't signed a veteran quarterback yet, still need one, and do not yet have an entrenched starter, haven't made the firm and final decision that they are making the pick. They are still going through the evaluation process. That includes, obviously, this pro day. It includes, obviously, talking with members of the Tennessee Titans staff, dining with them during the course of his pro day and before his pro day. I'm told the Titans are also going to have private workouts with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Those should be over the next 2 or so weeks. It is all part of the process, guys, for them to evaluate where they are. Do they want to consider potential offers to trade back, or do they want to make the pick? I would say, to me, it seems likely as of now make the pick, but certainly they are not done with that decision.
So Ian Rappaport saying, hey, they're still interested in hearing people out of trading the pick. Adam Schefter, they're still interested in hearing people when it comes to trading the pick. And yet, Titans Twitter, the YouTube chat of this program, I mean, everyone's like, no, it's done. Turn in the card. Ward's the guy. It's over. Yes, he's the next Mahomes. And I'm like, then why are they not saying that? Why are they saying, again, Mike Borgonzi with Jim Wyatt on the team's website, everything is on the table? Why are they saying that? And today, Cam Ward held a private workout with the Cleveland Browns. By the way, Cam Ward's not going to hold a private workout with everybody. He's not holding a private workout for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's only going to hold a private workout for the teams that might be interested in drafting him. And this is from the ESPN affiliate in Cleveland. And I believe the guy talking here is a former NFL player who's the one that has this opinion. This is Gerard Cherry on ESPN's Cleveland affiliate, which is 8:50 a.m. And this is why he believes that Cam Ward was working out today for the Browns.
You remember they didn't send anybody to Cam Ward's pro day. Oh my God, the Browns, they don't know what nobody would go. You gotta send somebody down there. Y'all remember that?
Oh yeah.
Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, Jimmy Haslam, personal workout of Cam Ward today. So they were down there personally working out. And it wasn't just Andrew and Kevin. They also had the owner down there as well.
That means that on some levels, Cam Ward's representation has not gotten a definitive answer from the Tennessee Titans on what they're going to do.
Yes, sir. And Mike Florio today on Pro Football Talk had a report saying that after that, the Titans sent everybody down there. Now it's leaking out that they love Cam Ward, but they'll listen to offers.
Again, they're saying, hey, he's working out for Cleveland because the Titans have said, they have not said, hey, he's the guy. So are the Titans just lying? You guys tell me. Again, they've told Rappaport, we're not for sure taking him. They've told Schefter, we're not for sure taking him. They've told Paul that. They've told TD that. Now, look, the Titans are liars. I mean, the Titans are very disingenuous, and I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. But what would be the point if they were sold just all in on Cam Ward? What would be the point of saying the pick is for sale? And it makes me think that the pick is absolutely for sale. And again, the Titans like Ward. If they have to take him, I guess they will, but they'd rather not. My guess is, again, this is a weak draft. The Titans probably have Cam Ward rated as, I don't know, 6th on the board. Probably the top player at a true premium position because Travis Hunter's probably a corner. And so if we have to take him, we will. But, we had J.J. McCarthy graded higher last year. We had this guy graded higher last year. We had that guy graded higher last year. That kind of thing. Phone line shared by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Trey has been waiting patiently and is up next on the program. Trey, thank you for calling. You go ahead.
Hey, buddy, how you doing today?
Good.
Hey, I wanted to say that, you remember when Bergonzi had that presser and he said that Will would have a chance to compete against the job? What are they going to do, have 4 quarterbacks? And do you actually really believe that Cam Ward will be coming here? And I'll leave you alone. You have a good day, bud. Thank you.
So I do think ultimately Cam Ward's going to be the pick. My guess is the Titans want 2 firsts and a third for Ward. That they want to move with the Giants to 3, and they want to get the Giants first at number 3 overall and a 3rd round pick out of the Giants and their 1st rounder next year. That is what they are expecting or hoping for in return. I don't think they're going to get it. I think they may be looking back to what the Giants did last year when the Giants called the day of the draft and offered their first next year to New England. And maybe the Titans are thinking they'll call us. They'll get desperate enough. They'll call us in the end too. But ultimately, I don't think that package is going to be there because as much as you all love Cam Ward and you guys think he's the second coming, Cam Ward was on Dane Brugler at The Athletic. He was on his big board as the 15th best player in this draft. And ultimately, I think teams are going to say, well, we only have a 6.3 grade on Ward, and we had a 6.8 grade on the other guys last year. So I do think they'll take Ward. I think Levis will be traded. Indy Ben says, when are you going to let it go with all the trade down talk? They are taking Cam Ward, and I am 99% positive of that, Indy Ben says. Teams are making moves so they don't have to move up for Ward. Ward isn't worth giving up a haul for, and that's the unrealistic expectation for the Titans to move off the pick. You're totally projecting your personal feelings with wanting to trade down in this. You're always of the beliefs to watch the team's actions instead of their words. Their actions say they're taking Cam Ward. But again, their actions say they're taking Cam Ward because they signed a Scarbini backup in Brandon Allen, and they didn't go out and get a Daniel Jones who could start if he had to, a Jameis Winston who could start if he had to, even a Mac Jones who, again, could start if he had to. And I understand that, which is why I guaranteed after Sam Darnold signed in Seattle, I guaranteed the Titans are drafting Cam Ward. But the Titans' action of talking publicly about trading the pick tells me that they still want to trade the pick. Because if they didn't want to trade the pick, then they wouldn't be having those public conversations because they don't have to. This isn't like the Giants. The Giants can still take Shedeur Sanders at number 3, even though they signed Russell Wilson. They can still take Shedeur Sanders, but they're not in control of whether or not they take Shedeur. Like, they don't have that. You're in control. Washington knew they were in control of Jaden Daniels because everybody knew Caleb Williams was going to be the first pick. So Washington could say, don't call us. Our quarterback's going to be Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. They didn't have to have conversations. Here, the Titans are wanting to have conversations. It's like one texter said, I've got 3 boats and I love them, but they're all for sale. Right. But like Florio pointed out, the Dolphins were begging Cincinnati to pick up the phone to make an offer for Joe Burrow. And Cincinnati said, nah, we're good. If the Titans were all in on Cam Ward for sure, then they would be telling these teams, nah, we're good. Instead, the Titans are telling teams, call us, which means that they don't love the quarterback. Again, I still think it will be Ward, because I don't think that the pick that they want, that they'll get that trade. But the Titans are telling everybody they still want to trade. And I have to read into that because, again, they're in control. More of your phones. 615-737-1025. We're to them next here on the program. Again, that's 615-737-1025. I do have a you people rant where I have got to rant about you people. We'll do that at some point, but not next. Phones are next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Chase and Big Joe, tomorrow morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota. Now through March 31st, get 4.99 APR financing on a stylish new 25 Corolla. Or 5.99 on Corolla Hybrid, excludes Corolla Cross and GR Corolla. Or lease a gas-powered 25 Corolla LE for $239 a month for 36 months with $32.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS. Tax, title, and license extra. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details. Or go to Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
For a limited time at Verizon, you can get our best price ever for a single line. Just $45 per month when you bring your phone, which is less than you spend on Too Tired to Cook takeout every week. Get one line on Unlimited Welcome for $45 per month with autopay plus taxes and fees. Visit your local Nashville Verizon store by April 2nd to save. $20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on Unlimited Welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
Hey, Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Pella is celebrating 100 years in business. That's right, an entire century of crafting top-quality windows and doors trusted by homeowners everywhere. Hey, when you combine Pella's craftsmanship, which is unmatched, with the professional installation expertise here in Nashville, the choice is simple. Upgrade your home with the best. Visit PellaofNashville.com today. Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville, a century of excellence built to last.
What if, instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you could choose one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon, with big bank reliability and small bank resolve. You get 160 years of financial strength and stability and an enduring commitment to personal service. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank. Visit firsthorizon.com/getitall.
Get the next generation Cat 255 and 265 compact track loaders at Thompson Machinery with financing options and monthly payments as low as $9.99. Give your business more power and performance. Call 888-720-1308 for your quote. Thompson Machinery, your local Cat dealer.
News just in. Bet365 is now live in Tennessee.
That's right. Join Bet365 today and get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose.
That's amazing.
That's for sure. With Bet365, you can bet on the spread, totals, and money line.
Well, there you have it, Tennessee. Download the Bet365 app and get your $150 in bonus bets today.
And see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline at 1-800-889-9789. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Tennessee. T's and C's apply.
Discover the essence of craftsmanship with Green River Whiskey. Every bottle tells a story, aged to perfection in charred oak barrels, offering a rich, smooth flavor with notes of caramel and vanilla. Whether you're toasting to a milestone or unwinding after a long day, Green River Whiskey is your perfect companion. Visit greenriverwhiskey.com and elevate your moments. Green River Whiskey, where tradition meets taste. Green River Distilling Company, Owensboro, Kentucky. Alcohol by volume varies by product. Please drink responsibly.
Looking for exceptional commercial real estate guidance in Nashville? Text Diane.com. From finding prime office spaces to securing lucrative investment properties, Diane Jernell offers unparalleled local expertise. Diane isn't a one-and-done agent. She's committed to your short-term and long-term success. Whether you're an owner, investor, occupier, or developer, go to TextDiane.com. That's TextDiane.com for local market expertise.
Hey, Preds fans, this is Max Hers inviting you to tune in to the Predators' first ever animated broadcast when the Preds play the Columbus Blue Jackets on Tuesday, April 1st on News Channel 5. Chris Mason and I will take you through an animated Preds game during Music City Hockey in Smashville, Tuesday night, April 1st at 6 o'clock on News Channel 5.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
It makes perfect sense to overdraft a little bit. Now, does it make sense to draft a guy, one, who probably would have gone 10th, 11th, 12th, 15th? Probably not. And I owe Mitch Trubisky an apology every time I mention his name because I keep picking on the poor guy, and it's not his fault. But the fact of the matter is he should not have been drafted anywhere before the bottom of the first round based on his performance. He was drafted on potential only, and it didn't work out well. That's the danger of it. But when you're sitting without a quarterback and, you say to yourself, should we take a chance here? Should we gamble? The answer is probably yes, as long as you're not giving up a lot to go up and get the guy. If you're giving up a king's ransom to go up and get a questionable guy, the answer to that is probably no. But don't mortgage the future to take a chance guy, but otherwise, go ahead. You might hit.
There you go. That was Bill Polian on Sirius XM NFL Radio saying, hey, you want to overdraft a quarterback? Fine. Just don't move heaven and earth for him. And again, I think the Titans are waiting on the Giants to move heaven and earth, to move from 3 to 1 so that they can try to get that first rounder next year out of the Giants. And I think the Giants yeah, we're not going to do that for Cam Ward. We did that last year trying to get Drake May. We're not going to do that this year for Cam Ward. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Luke has been waiting patiently and is up next here on the program. Luke, thank you for calling and thank you for waiting. You go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want you guys to take him. Somebody on this station compared him to possibly being Matt Leinart. I don't want him coming to Tennessee.
Who did that?
He's Willie Donick.
Okay, so you don't want them to take Cam Ward because Willie Donick compared him to Matt Leinart?
No, because I don't think he'll be a good fit here. And if you guys don't love him, don't take him. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. If he had gone from Washington State to Alabama or Georgia or somewhere else, he would have gotten a lot more pub. That's why he's not getting a lot of pub. Now everybody's taking a look at him. You saw the Louisville game last year. You know what he can do. He brought them back against California. He went out to the West Coast. They were down. He brought them all the way back.
Luke, what channel was Jalen Milrose Pro Day on?
I don't know, but SEC
It wasn't
Network?
on TV. He plays quarterback at Alabama. Why wasn't Cam Ward's Pro Day was on ACC Network and NFL Network, and Jalen Milrose Pro Day was nowhere, and you're telling me Cam Ward's not getting pub because he played at Miami?
Yeah, because they're still on probation.
Nobody cares about that. Who cares about that? You care about that. I didn't even know they were on probation. I don't care about that. What are you talking about?
They're supposed to be off. No, you can't say that because he's not in the ACC. That he didn't. You don't think they deserve to be in the playoff?
I went to an ACC school, and no, I don't think Miami deserved to be in the playoff because they couldn't beat Syracuse, which is a problem I have when it comes to discussing Cam Ward.
Well, look. I mean, he was the best quarterback. He was a Heisman candidate. He set the Miami records for passing yards and touchdowns. They were the number one offense. He's played 57 games. There's not a negative stat that you can give me that would tell me, look, if you guys had Brian Daboll and Malik Neighbors, yeah, I want him to go into the Giants.
Okay, so I appreciate your call. So here's what I'll say. Again, I hear you. And I get that Cam Ward had a great season last year. But did Cam Ward have a great season last year as far as the Heisman Trophy and top quarterback and first-team AP All-American? Because Cam Ward is the man, Or did Cam Ward have that season because it was a terrible year for college quarterbacks? Again, the draft gurus are telling us, they've told us from the very beginning, that if this was last year, even scouts off the record are telling people that if this were last year, he's absolutely going after Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May, and he's probably going after J.J. McCarthy. ESPN talked to scouts, executives, and analysts and had them rank every quarterback taken in the first round over the last 5 years and added Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders to the group. Cam Ward, 18th out of 21. Only Michael Penix, Shedeur Sanders, and Kenny Pickett were behind Cam Ward. Again, those are NFL people that are telling you Anthony Richardson was a better prospect coming out than Cam Ward. I'm sorry. Like, that's what it is. One texter goes, I think it's so funny that the Titans lie all the time, and you always call them out for it when it's something you don't want to believe. But when you want to believe it, you say, why would they say it if it's not true? So this is in reference, again, to the Titans telling everybody that the pick is for sale. Telling Adam Schefter it's for sale, telling Jim Wyatt on the record that it's for sale, telling Ian Rappaport, telling everyone, Paul, TD, everyone. Because there's no reason, if the pick wasn't for sale, for you to even offer. If that was Joe Burrow who was out there, if that was Trevor Lawrence who was out there, if that was last year, Caleb Williams who's out there, we're not interested in talking about trade because we're taking the quarterback. The Titans aren't saying that. I think a lot of you think, well, you know what? You should answer the phone no matter what. Even if it is Caleb Williams, you should answer the phone. But again, these trade talks are kind of complicated. It's not as simple as, yeah, what are you going to offer us? We'll offer you 3 number ones. Yeah, no. Because, again, if you had offered 3 number ones for Caleb, the Bears would have said no. So don't even waste your time. If you'd offered 3 number ones for Burrow, they would have said no. So when the Titans are saying, hey, we're willing to talk about the pick, that tells me they're not all in on Ward. That's why. It would make no sense. They don't have to lie. It's not like they're picking 6th and they're trying to convince people about something they're going to do or not do. Nobody can jump the Titans. Nobody can get in front of them to take the quarterback that they like if they really love the quarterback. Let's go to Cam, who's up next here on our program. Cam, thank you for calling and thank you for waiting. You go ahead.
Good afternoon. So I just wanted to call in reference to the last caller. That is not what Willie said. I'm going to defend Willie on that. They were talking on DVD, I think it was yesterday, and they were talking about quarterbacks that had extremely high success in college, but then came to the NFL and basically flopped. And Willie had brought up Matt Leinart because Matt Leinart had all the success, the Heismans, the national championships in college, and then came to the NFL and was a glorified backup for most of his career. Thanks. That's what I got.
Yep, thank you for the call. Ed on Twitter says, I think they're leaving the door open in case Santa Claus stops by with a great bag full of goodies. Short of that, they're locked in on Cam Ward. Again, Chicago wouldn't have been interested if Santa, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and whomever else showed up and said, hey, we got all kinds of crap for you. Now we're good. We're good with Caleb Williams. Do you see the difference? Loving a quarterback versus, I guess we'll take him. Do you see the difference? And if you love the quarterback and you take the quarterback number 1, you'll love him. You take him number 1. You're risking your career on this guy, but you're okay with that because this is my guy. Like, this is my guy, and I believe in him. And if it doesn't work out, screw it. Fire me. That's okay. But what you don't want to do is, I'm using the number 1 pick on this guy. This is my guy. But I really, I'm not a huge believer. You better have an owner if you're going to do that. You better have an owner who you are in lockstep with, who understands and says, you got it. We're going to do it because he's the top player on the board. We need a quarterback. But if this doesn't work, I'm not holding this against you, and I'll let you go pick another quarterback too. And I don't know if you guys, keep up with Amy, but it doesn't sound like something Amy would do. 615-737-1025 will hit your phones. 615-737-1025. I have to go on my you people rant. I've got a rant about you people. We'll do it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Smashville lives. He scores! O'Reilly scores! Catch every game as the Nashville Predators battle through a tough Central Division in pursuit of the Stanley Cup. Coming back with the now marches, so he scores! Smashville lives here. Sorelli run by Jussi Saros! On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
For more detail.
I'm going to give you my list of how I rank the draft class at quarterback the last 2 years coming into today, and it might change. And then you tell me if you agree or disagree. So Caleb's still number one for me. We draft put all the 24 class and 25 class.
Now hold on,
don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
But when you say ranking them, are we talking college film?
Yeah,
based?
we're ranking them based only on their college film
gotcha.
coming into the draft.
Okay.
No, that's a good point. So Caleb's still number 1 for me. Jaden's still number 2. I had Drake 3 and Penix 4. I think I get accused by my colleagues of falling in love. I think, okay, so here it is. I'm doing Caleb. I'm doing Jaden. I'm moving Cam to 3. I don't care. Based on college film and pro day. Got to add the pro day in there. Drake, Michael, JJ, Michael Penix Jr., JJ McCarthy, and then Bo Nix based on what I thought coming out.
The only one I feel you left off was CJ.
No, we're only doing last 2
Oh,
years.
last 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah, CJ would certainly be up there. So just last 2.
So I can agree
Would you
with
have
the top 3.
Cam as high as 3?
Yeah, I could go there.
Rand Carthon says Cam Ward 3. So over the last 2 years, Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2, Cam Ward 3, Drake May 4. Seriously? And now I have a you people rant to go on. And I know a lot of people think like, oh, Jared Stillman manufactures outrage. That's not true. But I did manufacture this because I knew this was going to happen. I put out a poll last night on Twitter. There's still an hour, by the way, to vote in this if you want to. And it was who's going to be the better NFL quarterback, Cam Ward or Drake May? And 60.7% of you have voted Cam Ward. You people have picked Cam Ward 61% to 39%. Where do you people come up with this stuff? Every single draft guru on the planet has told you that the quarterbacks in this year's class are nowhere near the same level of talent as the quarterbacks in last year's class. Drake May was viewed as an elite quarterback prospect. Cam Ward is not. Period. And you guys just do not care. You're like, Cam Ward, he'll show you, Jared. You'll see. Cam Ward is 6'2", which is fine. It's not like Kyler Murray, but the prototypical quarterback is 6'4", 6'5". Guess how tall Drake May is? Drake May is younger than Cam Ward. And I really would love to see like a former board, like a draft board or a former general manager or scout or somebody give me their grades on all of these guys. But for now, we have to use the NFL.com grades. Drake May had an NFL.com grade of 6.50. That is a first round, top of the first round grade. Cam Ward has a grade of 6.34, which means he will eventually develop into a starter. Drake May at 6'5", at 6.5, that is a starter who might be a star. Dane Brugler, in his final big board before the draft last year, in what was a very loaded draft, again, guys like Joe Alt and Brock Bowers and Marvin Harrison Jr., elite draft prospects. Dane Brugler had Drake May ranked on his big board as the 4th best prospect in a loaded draft. This is considered to be a bad draft. Bill Polian said there are 2 elite players in this draft, Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty, the running back. And Dane Brugler, the same guy on his big board, has Cam Ward as the 15th best prospect in a bad draft. And yet you people, because again, your team is in position to take Cam Ward, you people are like, no, Jared, he is the best. He's better than Drake May. Guys, there was a legitimate debate as prospects. There was no debate between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams was going to go number 1. Caleb Williams was the better talent. Caleb Williams, again, as a prospect coming out. It's like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence hasn't had a great career, but as a prospect, Trevor Lawrence was an elite prospect. There was a debate between Jaden Daniels and Drake May. There were some people that liked Drake May more than Jaden Daniels. Do you really think that Cam Ward is the type of prospect that Jaden Daniels was last year? Kaharski said that the Titans want a first rounder in next year's draft in order to move out of number 1. And he said, Giants, if you want Cam Ward, drop your first rounder next year. Clearly, the Giants have not offered their first rounder next year, because if they had offered their first rounder next year, then the Giants probably would have the number 1 pick and would be taking Cam Ward, and the Titans would be moving to 3. Last year, the Giants called the Patriots and tried to move up to number 3. They were willing to give up Malik Neighbors, whom they used the 6th pick on. They were willing to give up Malik Neighbors and their first rounder this year to get Drake May. They won't give up 3, again, in a worse class, because there is no player they're going to pick at 3 that's as good as Malik Neighbors. They are not willing to give that and a first rounder next year for Cam Ward. You people. And when I heard Rand Carthon say that, I thought, did he even evaluate the quarterbacks in the class last year? It's so funny. It reminds me of last year when we were doing the mock draft simulations and saying, okay, if this is the case and you're picking at 7, who do you take? And I remember one of those days we did one of those mock draft simulations and Drake May was still available at 7. And there was talk about what do you do if Drake May falls at 7? And you people were like, why would you take Drake May when you have Will Levis? And Tim Hasselbeck was on the midday show like, oh no, if Drake May's there, you take Drake May. Look, Drake may fail in New England because he's got no receivers, although they did sign Stephon Diggs, good for him. But he's got no good receivers. They don't have a left tackle. Vrabel's the coach, and he's in charge, and Vrabel doesn't know what he's doing, and he's going to have his offensive buddies. Downing is there as the wide receivers coach, and boy, that'll go over well. Stephon Diggs and Downing, what could possibly go wrong? But so Vrabel could screw him up, and that wouldn't surprise me. Vrabel and his bozo buddy coaches. But Drake May is a draft prospect. I mean, that's an elite pick. If Drake May had pulled a Peyton Manning and said, I'm going back to school, Drake May would be the Tennessee Titans quarterback this upcoming season, and there would be no talking about it. He would be 1-1, it's over, move on. And the other thing, apparently Rand Carthon's going to be the With the First Pick podcast, which is what that was from, CBS Sports. They used to have Rick Spielman on it, my favorite general manager, former general manager to listen to. Well, now he's with the Jets as a senior advisor, and they've hired Rand Carthon into that capacity. So my favorite former general manager to listen to around draft time, he's gone, and they've replaced it with Rand, who, again, I'm not totally convinced knows ball. And that Caleb Williams, or that Drake May thing, that was kind of a, what? Unbelievable. You people. 615-737-1025 here on the program if you want to weigh in. One texter says, was Tom Brady considered a top prospect? No, he was not. That's why he went in the 6th round, because he was not. One texter says, I didn't even know who Cam Ward was before this past football season. How did this guy skyrocket to the number 1 overall pick? The answer is the quarterback class was bad. You know, going into the year, the hope for the quarterback class was Carson Beck. And Carson Beck bombed this year at Georgia. And there was some talk, maybe Quinn Ewers. And Ewers kind of bombed this year. Nussmeier wasn't good enough to leave, and he stayed. Drew Aller stayed. And so, again, it's a bad quarterback draft, and the quarterbacks usually get pushed to the top. Adam from Portland says the pick is absolutely for sale. What are they supposed to do? Act like they don't like them? Absolutely not. You got to act like you love them so someone overpays for them. I stand by what they said a few weeks ago, that they want to get all those top 100 players, and you can't do that if you don't have a 3rd-round pick and you don't acquire more picks by trading back. I don't think Cam Ward will be a Titan if the Giants really want him. I think the question is, do the Giants really want him? And quite frankly, I think the answer is probably no. That's why. Because, again, the Giants had Drake May at a certain level, and they don't have Cam Ward at that level. You people. Unbelievable. Oh, yeah, no, I think Cam Ward's better. Why? Because my team's going to take him. 615-737-1025. Jared versus Joe. Up next here, Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, and we are presented by the Southern Bank of Tennessee. 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, and no special NCAA tournament stuff, at least right now for Joe Rexroad, which means everybody's in the house. Caroline Fenton, hello, how are you?
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. And Joseph Robinette Rexroad Jr. Joe, when do you head to go check out Tennessee and Kentucky? Do you leave tomorrow for that?
I'm actually not doing that. I'm gonna monitor everything from home and then go to San Antonio next week. So hopefully the Vols will be there with me.
Oh,
sure, Paul
wow.
Kowarski will be relieved.
Are you? I'm shocked, Caroline, that Joe's not going to the UK UT game.
You mean Joe Super
I'm actually
Bowl?
going to. I know I am excited for the game, but I'm going to be in Knoxville for a rugby. My kid rugby, so I guess I'll watch that game amongst insane Vols fans. So that could be interesting.
By the way, it should be noted, Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, will be on our program at 5 o'clock tomorrow. So be listening for that. Okay, with that, it's time for Jared versus Joe. Caroline, before you go, let's give away a pair of tickets to see Cake at Ascend Amphitheater on Saturday, April 19th. We call her 5 at 615-737-1025, and you will go see Cake at Ascend Amphitheater on Saturday, April 19th. Caroline, the floor is yours.
Jared, do you know who Cake is?
Nope.
Didn't think so. All right.
Do you?
Good band.
No, I actually don't. I just knew you wouldn't.
No
You
idea.
guys both know songs. You guys both know songs from Cake. I promise you.
Is it like an old guy band?
I mean, it's like a '90s, but you both know songs from Cake. Guaranteed.
I'll take your word for it.
Caroline,
right,
do you
Joe.
think I know a song from Cake?
No, because you barely know a song from like Maroon 5.
Remember when I went to that wedding and I had that Ed Sheeran song stuck in my head and you were like, yeah, that song's like 15 years old. I was like, oh, it's new to me. It's like NBC Must See Thursdays. If you didn't see it, it's new to you. So I don't know if I do have, if I know Cake songs or not, but that's okay. Go ahead, Caroline.
If it came out in the 90s, then you're probably just coming up on it. You're a couple years behind the song news cycle. Joe, let's start with you. Before we get into Jared's reasoning for this, I heard Jared yesterday giving a vote of no confidence for Burke Nihill because recent firing of Robbie Bourne, which, by the way, I hate to see that. If you had a vote of confidence for Burke Nihill, the powers that be with the Titans, what would your vote of confidence be?
Yeah. So again, this is it's either confidence or no confidence, right? I mean,
it's like choose your own adventure, Joe.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think you'd have to go no confidence, and I don't know that. I mean, there's a lot that happened before this that I think would lead to that conclusion anyway. But, this to me, the Bourne thing is just, it's confirmation for me that, because look, I don't know some of the other moves. I don't know the details, but this is confirmation for me that they don't get it, that they don't understand like the value of people that are important. And I look about the Burke Nihill. Look, I mean, I worry or wonder if this is one of these things where like Amy Adams Strunk is, sees all the negativity about her and the franchise and somehow wants to like conflate that with PR work and, wants to blame someone. I don't know. I'm just throwing things at the wall. I mean,
that would be wild if she thought that.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, there's no good reason for this. So, yeah, look, from everything I know, that's a pretty easy no confidence vote. So I'm joining Jared.
I just want to make it clear. It wasn't like I had all the confidence in the world in the job that Burke Nihill and Chad Brinker were doing running the Titans before they fired Robbie Bourne. But for me, I thought that was such an out of touch. And Joe, I thought you used the best word, clueless. It was such a clueless move that it was almost confirmed for me. No, these guys really are that stupid. Like, they really are that stupid. And if you've got a PR guy that's a good PR guy, that has a great relationship with the media, and I'm not talking about great as in friends, I'm talking about great as in professional. You know, Chris Sanders came on the show today, and he couldn't believe it when we were talking about them firing Robbie Bourne, and he was talking about the relationship the players have with Robbie Bourne. And I had a former Titans coach text me before I went on air asking for Robbie's phone number, and he was like, he was my favorite guy over there. I mean, if you're that clueless that you think my guys are better, you'll see. And I'm getting lectured by the people that hired Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. I mean, it tells me how absolutely clueless they are. Joe, great word. I'm taking it from you. And so, again, it's like confidence in the organization, because that means confidence to hire the right people to build a good team around Cam Ward. Confidence in hiring the right people to properly evaluate Cam Ward. Hiring the right people to coach Cam Ward. All of those things, if you can't even get the PR guy that you've already got in-house that's doing a good job, if you can't even get that right, then there's no way you can get the things right that it would require for you to be a well-run football team. And that's why you're down here at the bottom with the Browns and the Giants and the Jets and the Raiders and all those teams, because just like we make fun of Mark Davis and how much of a stooge he is, or we make fun of Woody Johnson and how stupid he is for, voting for decisions based off Madden football, you're just that stupid. In fact, you might be dumber because you're worse than those teams. So I've got a vote of no confidence. And even if Amy, and she owns the team, even if Amy went to Brinker or Nihill and said, hey, which I don't think she did, and said, hey, the PR's bad. Let's move off of Robbie Bourne because our PR's bad. Not that we're a bunch of stooges, but let's just move off because it must be the PR guy's fault. It's his job to basically tell Amy, like, Amy, I don't think that's a very good idea. I mean, he's really good at what he does. And I'm sure that's not what happened. I'm sure what happened is Brinker wants to hire his guy, or Nihill wants to hire his guy. And, my guy syndrome, my coach, my team, and I have no confidence that these people have any clue what they're doing. And this was an example of people that don't know what they're doing. And I'm honestly a little angry at how much has been made of this, that it's like, oh, you just think this is a bad move because you guys liked him. No, I think it's a bad move because he's good at his job, and you don't get better by getting rid of good people that are firmly entrenched into the culture of the organization.
Yeah, Robbie argued on behalf of the Titans, defending fiercely the Titans with me many times. I mean, if you were over there on a lot of days and you ever thought that like Paul Kaharski and Robbie were friends, I mean, there's no way, right? But that's the thing. Like, we can recognize when someone cares that much about where they work and is willing to have these conversations. And sometimes you find a middle ground and sometimes you don't, but sometimes you're just going to agree to disagree. But then also is, willing to have relationships still and get through that. Yeah, I think some people are just like, I'm sick of hearing about this. He was your friend. Great. You're sad. It's not that. It's that he was a valuable member of that organization who was an asset to the Tennessee Titans. And moving on from him shows that they don't have a clue of the value he brought, which is pretty sad.
Well, I had an ESPN reporter text me that a scout that they talked to said that Rand Carthon was sleeping in his office. And the text message, and Jake, you saw the text message. The text message said that Rand Carthon would sleep in his office, not like overnight, but like lazy is what the person at ESPN told me when it came to Rand. These are the guys that hired Rand Carthon. I guess Brinker didn't hire Rand Carthon, but Brinker was hired by Rand Carthon. Burke Nihill hired Rand Carthon. This is the guy that went on 104.5, Burke Nihill, and said, we crushed it at training camp when they hired Brian Callahan. And now he's the guy saying they're going to hold Brian Callahan accountable. And so these guys are so clueless about something like the PR director, which means they have no idea how to get GM or coach right. And these are the guys that, as Titan fans, people like me have to bank on to hope that they can actually get it right. And that's why I have no confidence. Again, just like a board of directors. Why fire Robbie now?
Yeah.
Well, remember how when they fired Rand, they fired Anthony Robinson, which is normal. You fire the general manager and you fire his right-hand man. That's fine. They also fired like 3 or 4 other longtime employees.
Brinker was supposed to be Rand Carthon's right-hand man, but I digress.
Yeah, that changed quickly. Brinker said they were long-lost brothers last year. But
close brothers. I wouldn't do that to my brother, but okay.
So remember, they fired like a bunch of these other long-term employees, including Anthony Pastrana, who was the video guy when Floyd was there, and the director of travel. And so I don't think it was like, hey, Robbie, we don't think you're doing a good job. I just think it was my guy, my team, my coach, But I think the reason that they didn't fire Robbie when they fired those other guys is because it would have been a freaking train wreck of trying to convince the media in town that they're now trying to convince, like, no, Rand was the problem. Chad is the smart guy here. Come on, fans, trust us. They would have no chance of winning the media over if they had fired Robbie then. So, like a bunch of weasels, they waited until Cam Ward's pro day, and then they did it, and they told it to Teresa, and they basically lied to Teresa. Because Teresa's, the way that Teresa put it out there was like, Robbie chose to leave on his own, and he didn't. And so, I think it was a total weaselly move from the Titans. And that's why they waited, because they knew it would have been a story if they had done it when they fired everybody else. So they waited until Cam Ward's pro day.
So it's important to talk some about it because it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Caroline, what's next?
Lying to Teresa too. You can suck. You can be terrible. You can lie to the fans. But once you mess with Teresa Walker, you're crossing a line there. Okay, Jared, you go first. The insiders are insidering, and it's lying season. We've heard Adam Schefter say that the Titans are still listening on offers for the first overall pick. Mike Borgonzi mentioned that they are, anything is on the table as far as the Titans are concerned with the first overall pick. If that is true, if the Titans are still listening on offers for the first overall pick, how should that make us feel about how the Titans feel about Cam Ward?
Well, it tells me that they don't love Cam Ward. That I could see a scenario where he's at the top of their board and they need a quarterback and it's a premium position with the number 1 pick. So, he's a good player. We like him, but we don't absolutely love him. The way it works in the NFL, if you love the quarterback prospect and you have the pick, you don't even talk about trading the pick. Mike Florio wrote about this at Pro Football Talk, saying that the Dolphins were desperate to try to get Joe Burrow in 2020, and Cincinnati didn't pick up the phone. Last year, nobody called Chicago for Caleb Williams. Washington said, don't call us, and New England told the Giants it would take something historic to move off of Drake May. The Titans are telling everybody still that they're open for business. And the other side of, well, maybe they're lying about it. There's nothing for them to gain by lying about it. They control Cam Ward. If they were sitting in the corner saying to themselves, yeah, we're definitely going to take Cam Ward. He's our future. We're going to all risk our careers on him. He is the future. He is the truth. Then they wouldn't be actively telling every insider and anybody who would listen and going on the record with Jim Wyatt and saying that they're still considering trade possibilities. So it tells me that they don't love Cam Ward, that they're not completely sold on Cam Ward as the number 1 pick.
Well, I think, I guess I can't disagree with that. I think it also may speak to, just the fact that, they haven't gotten anything that they love in terms of what other teams are telling them. I agree. Like, if they were absolutely 100% sold, then it'd be over. But it's not surprising, is it? That's what he is. He's not one of those generational prospects. Might be a generational quarterback. Who knows? But we already knew.
Don't tell these fans that, Joe.
That nobody in this class was that type of guy. So, to me, it just goes hand in hand with just the general lukewarmness of these quarterbacks, all of them. and he may be the best one, but it's not one of those guys that you scratch and claw for, and there's no way you're going to get our guy, and that's why they haven't apparently, haven't heard anything great from other teams. So
here's what I love. Here's what I love about this with the Titans is, again, it's obvious to your point, Joe, that when the draft gurus tell us like, yeah, these quarterbacks aren't very good, and last year they definitely would have all gone after the first three, Williams, May, and Daniels, and they probably would have gone after all six, McCarthy, Penix, and Nix. The fans don't care. The fans are like, no, Cam Ward, he's the next Mahomes, Jared. Like, they're convinced about it. My favorite part about this is that at this point, the Titans have done so much, like, by not going out and getting a veteran quarterback and kind of signaling that they're taking Cam Ward. The fans are now so invested. They think Cam Ward's better than he is. And I just don't know, if I was in the Titans position, if I was in Mike Borgonzi's position, if I was in Chad Brinker's position, I don't know if I could risk my career on a quarterback that I didn't love, and when I didn't have to. If I was in Joe Shane's position in New York, I probably would have to draft the quarterback just because my back's against the wall, and I've got to give, ownership belief that we're headed in the right direction with a young quarterback. They don't have to do that. Like, in theory, they could stink this year if they make the right trade or something like that. And yet, when push comes to shove, they still might end up taking a quarterback they don't love, and I do not think that's a recipe for success.
You say that, but if you're Chad Brinker, then I think that you could, who obviously has talked about this patience, I think you could look at it like more patience is bought if we get the rookie QB. We're going to be bad. They have holes all over the roster. This is going to be a bad team. But if we're a bad team and, the quarterback shows promise, then maybe there's a little more runway. Because, we all assume that Brian Callahan is the potential next guy in the chopping block here. And Brinker, again, talks up the patience thing and obviously, basically surpassed and then survived ran. But can he really feel that comfortable? Does he actually know that he's safe, that everything's all fine? I wouldn't think so. And so if that's the case, to me, getting the rookie quarterback gives you a path for having a bad record this year. Whereas if you don't, okay, then what's your answer? Why didn't you have a better answer quarterback? Why are you bad again? So
well, then can I say to that? Well, I have can I say to that? Well, I have the number 2 pick in the draft because the Giants gave me their first rounder next year, and I've got the number 4 pick in the draft because I've got mine. And I think if you get if there's a good trade to be had, and it sounds like there's not, if there was a good trade to be had, I think you can sell that to you can sell that to Amy, you can sell that to the fans, you can accept being bad. It's a rebuilding year. We got all these picks in the future. I think they can sell that for a year. If they take Cam Ward and 2 years from now, it's the similar situation to Levis or Anthony Richardson or maybe even Bryce Young, I think their gooses are cooked and there's no way out of it. And
how much time does it realistically buy you?
Yeah, I think by year 2,
it didn't buy people in the Panthers organization very much time. Like, if Cam Ward's not Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud in his rookie year, everyone's going to be uncomfortable. That might not be a fair expectation, but that's what it is. It's the first overall pick.
And I think if you trade that pick and you have the future picks, you could say, well, we didn't take a quarterback, and that's why we're bad, because we're building for the future with these future picks.
Right. So if you didn't get a good offer, what you can't sell is Brandon Allen, Tim Boyle, Will Levis, and let's take Travis Hunter first and be bad.
Well, see, that's why I think
you get the quarterback.
If they don't, and this is where I go back to Darnold or, again, Darnold, anywhere from Darnold to Daniel Jones. You don't have to love Sam Darnold to pay him $40 million. You have to love somebody to use the number 1 overall pick on him. There's a difference. If you had signed Sam Darnold to a 2-year contract, like a real, truly 2-year guaranteed contract, and he turns into a pumpkin-ish, then fine. Because you've already got the future picks, and you can take a quarterback, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. But unless they want to trade for Kirk Cousins, and I think Cousins had a horrendous year last year. I mean, horrendous. I mean, there wasn't a single good thing he did last year. I don't see any way out of this for the Titans other than taking a quarterback that clearly they don't love. More Jared versus Joe to continue next. Stillman and Company, 102.5 The Game. I have to ask, did you guys watch the ACC Network's coverage of Cam Ward's Pro Day? Or did you watch NFL Network, or did you not watch it?
Was there a lot of ego stroking going on, for lack of a better term?
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. It was so bad. And I was just laughing at something in the text line. Someone said, I don't think I've ever heard any more ridiculously over-the-top propaganda than the ACC Network's coverage of Cam Ward's pro day. It made me uncomfortable. I mean, that one girl opened her mic to fawn over Cam Ward carrying his own water. I just laughed out loud at that. Caroline, floor's yours.
Brutal. Rough. All right, Joe, you go first. Our resident basketball Benny. Has the NCAA tournament lost a little bit of juice this year with no true Cinderella?
It's a great question. It's funny because this is a topic tomorrow on our show. So my answer is yes and no. Yes, for people who aren't really into college basketball. And I get it. And look, I'm not going to lie and say that I wouldn't love to have a Cinderella. I love those stories too. But you know, it's amazing to me the anger from some people who, from what I can tell, it's nobody who actually follows the sport. They just wait for this time of year and want cool stories like that. So I think that basically the casuals hate it, and the people who love the sport. I mean, look, the ratings were the best ratings since 1993. And the ratings were fantastic. You're averaging 9.4 million across all these games. So you look, like it or not, big brands sell, and I think the ratings are going to be fantastic this weekend. And I like both things about this tournament. I like the Cinderella. I don't want to lose that entirely. I don't know that we have. I do think it's tougher for mid-majors. Let's face it. The money and talent flow up to the power teams now, and so you're going to have a harder time getting these veteran great mid-majors teams that can do damage. Now, granted, we just saw Drake. That team was good enough and got a win, and Colorado State got a win, but it's harder. But also, I love this weekend every year for the great matchups, and we got so many of them. And I'm not apologizing for that. I think it's going to be an amazing Sweet 16 Elite Eight. I'd love to have one of those stories, but I think for the people who love the sport and follow these teams all year, yes, I want to see Houston and Purdue, and I want to see Auburn and Michigan and Arizona and Duke play again, and on and on and on.
So I don't think the lack of it. Caroline, what exactly was the question again?
Has the tournament lost some juice with no true Cinderella?
So I don't think it's lost some juice. I did think that the first weekend, it was kind of boring. For a first weekend of the NCAA tournament, I found myself, Connecticut, Florida was great. Obviously, the ending of Colorado State, Maryland was awesome. But for the most part, outside of St. John's, Arkansas, there were just a lot of games that I'd be sitting there watching being like, Duke and Baylor. That was boring. I was like, I'd rather watch something else. And so I think there was a little juice there that was missing. But as far as the Cinderella, nobody sits there and says, hey, what time does the Scarbini State game come on? Nobody cares about that. I do think they enjoy the upsets as they're happening.
St. Peter's, you didn't watch St. Peter's? Because, I feel like a lot of people were like, is this team for real? And then they freaking beat Purdue. I think people tune into that stuff.
I got
think
over
that
it once they got
CBS
to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. I think if CBS had their druthers, CBS and Turner, and then they could, pick these things, they'd want every 16 seed to be within 3 points with 20 seconds to go and lose, so that they still get Duke, they still get Kansas, they still get Carolina, they still get, the blue bloods that are playing, the big games, but it's fun while it's happening and people are energized and excited. But I do have to make a point, because I do feel like NIL gets demonized for everything people don't like when it comes to college sports. If there's something in college football that they don't like, it's NIL's fault. If there's something people don't like in college, it's NIL's fault. I'm sorry, but NIL is not why Cinderella is not winning games in the NCAA tournament. We had NIL last year, and Oakland beat Kentucky. We had NIL 2 years ago, and Florida Atlantic and San Diego State went to the Final Four. This just happens to be a year where the good teams are really good. We didn't have NIL in 2008, and we had 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. It happens. And so I get really mad every time these old duddies get up there and they start bitching about NIL and they look for any excuse to complain about it. You're paying the players deserve the money. It's fine. Nobody's crying poor. It's not like the booster at A&M that's giving all that money now can't afford to send his family to, Turks and Caicos for vacation. And I'm getting so freaking tired of just the moaning about the transfer portal while every coach that loses on Sunday has a job by 8 a.m. Monday somewhere else. I just am so tired of all the old men bitching about NIL in the transfer portal, and I don't think it has anything to do with why Cinderella isn't playing this weekend.
I mostly agree with that. Certainly the complaining. And look, if people, again, it's different. It's more now. It's everywhere. But like if we're going to pretend like there were no players, like money had nothing to do with any players at various schools in the 2000s, 90s, 80s, 70s. I mean, you're totally fooling yourself.
Like, let's go back to that 2008 where all 4 number 1 seeds made it in 2008. You don't think Derrick Rose got some NIL money at Memphis?
Right. But I will say this too. I'm moving forward. Look, it's like Casey Alexander. Think of the team he could have with Will Richard and Jacoby Gillespie right now. Florida Atlantic, that team you mentioned. Well, their star guards on Florida in the Sweet 16. Their star big man's on Michigan, coached by their former coach in the Sweet 16. And their other star guard is who the heck?
Arkansas.
Who's the other? Yes, thank you.
John L. Davis.
Star guards in Arkansas in the Sweet 16. Yeah, so I mean, it's like I'm a little bit, the portal, the movement. I think it will be harder for some of these mid-major teams, but I won't be surprised if next year we get somebody that just rises up and does amazing things, and then people won't panic anymore.
It'll happen. There'll be next year a 14 seed that'll beat a 3. Like it happens. It'll happen next year. Caroline, what's next?
And didn't we just have a college football playoff with Indiana and SMU?
Yeah, and I guess it was NIL's fault too.
Yeah, it's not like Indiana is any sort of NIL powerhouse. Please. Okay, Jared, you go first. Speaking of Cam Ward and his pro day and the ACC network jerkapalooza, if you will.
Wow.
Rand Carthon said that Cam Ward would be ahead of Drake May in his prospect rankings. If we look at the quarterbacks over the last couple of years, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, the quarterbacks in this draft, where would Cam Ward rank in your rankings?
Okay, so I did not study J.J. McCarthy the way that all these other guys did, but I do think there's something to the idea that Jim Harbaugh kind of held J.J. McCarthy back as a college player because of the style of ball that Jim Harbaugh wants to play. I mean, Jim Harbaugh drafted Joe Alt over Malik Neighbors when he had Justin Herbert and no wide receivers, and he already had a left tackle. So, I do think there's probably something to that without having and studied McCarthy. I think the idea that Cam Ward would be ahead of Drake May is absolutely ridiculous. Cam Ward last year at Miami threw for 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Drake May, who is younger than Cam Ward, threw for 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 7 picks 2 years ago in college football, before he was even draft eligible. Drake May is 6'5", Cam Ward is 6'2". Again, I think this is ridiculous when last year the Giants tried to move heaven and earth to get up to 3 to get Drake May. And right now the Titans are telling anybody, hey, somebody please knock our socks off so we'll give you Cam Ward. And the rest of the league's like, nah. And yet Cam Ward's the flavor of the month. He's a good quarterback in a bad draft class. And so now people are starting to make up stuff and convince themselves that Cam Ward is better than Drake May. I would have it ranked, again, going into the draft. And I was worried about Jaden Daniels' size in the NFL. I was worried he might be a little too small, like a little too slender in the NFL. So I would have it ranked Caleb number 1. I had May ahead of Daniels slightly, like splitting hairs. But I'd go May 2, Daniels 3. I think again, without having studied J.J. McCarthy, I think I'd go McCarthy 4, Cam Ward 5, Nick 6, Penix 7. I think I would put Cam Ward at 5 after McCarthy.
I'm similar, except I got Shedeur Sanders ahead of Ward this year. So, which I've been saying, of course, because
you know what, though? I appreciate
matters.
the fact, Joe. I truly appreciate the fact that you haven't backed off that. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate the fact that, hey, you said the whole time Sanders over Ward, and you're still saying it today and not letting people group think that out of you.
It's to me, it's just the same. I look at it like jump shooting, man. Shooting. You can't play in the NBA if you can't shoot for the most part. And you got to hit those jumpers over and over again. And the on-target passing from Shedeur Sanders is actually absurdly good, better than I think everybody from last year's draft. I'm not saying he's better than them, but the on-target metric is like he's astoundingly good. But yeah, I think it's a joke to say that he's a better prospect than Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And I think I would also, McCarthy is interesting. I'd give him a slight edge over Ward. McCarthy is actually, he's an amazing athlete, amazing runner. And I think you're going to see when he plays, he's going to make big plays with his feet. And look, he was throwing it really well last year before he got hurt. He didn't have to throw it a lot for Michigan, but if you go back to when their run, there were third and longs. There were big time throws he made and big time plays he made. It's close. That one would be close. I would put Cam Ward ahead of Nix. And look, there's a great example. I laughed at Bo Nix last year, and Sean Payton's not complaining about him. So, it's so much of it is where they go and what's around them.
Caroline, who wins this week?
You did a lot of agreeing today, which is rather odd. I was setting Jake up for his first Jared versus Joe for there to be, true gloves coming off, kind of debating back and forth. But Jared wins today because Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward. I think it just continues to be wild to me. I agree with Jared. I applaud the consistency, Joe, but it's wrong.
So I wouldn't have just thrown that comment in.
Well, and also you had a basketball elitist take that I did not appreciate.
Okay,
I heard that one too.
Oh, it's good for the casuals, not me though.
I'll never forget
You're
my
not
brother.
Casual. You're not a casual.
I know. I'm looking out for all the basketball casuals out there.
Caroline understands the market and the fact that most people in January, February, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December don't care about college basketball. She's aware of the fact that that's
a woman of the people.
Ripping those people. I was just saying that they need to have a Cinderella. It's true.
Thank you very much, both of you, and it is nice to be back in the win column on Jared versus Joe. I think I won last week, so that might be 2 in a row. Thank you all, as always. The latest from Adam Schefter on the Titans and what they may do at number 1. We'll get that next. So I'm going to accompany 102.5 The Game.
I've also heard the Titans general manager, Mike Borgonzi, say that he's open to anything. And so he's going to be listening to phone calls. It doesn't mean that the Giants will be able to make it up to one, but I expect the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants both to make calls. And let's see if there's a team that can come up with an offer that the Titans can't pass up. Yes, the Titans absolutely do like Cam Ward. Yes, they're ready to take him. But these teams have 1 month to try to change Tennessee's mind and make an offer compelling enough to move Tennessee, which has a ton of holes on its roster, off the number 1 pick.
Okay, that was Adam Schefter saying, hey, Tennessee's ready to take Cam Ward. But Mike Borgonzi said he'll listen to anything. And you know what's funny? Last year, Chicago wasn't interested in listening to anything. Chicago, by this time, had already traded Justin Fields. They were taking Caleb Williams. The Washington Commanders, they were horrible. They picked second. They said, don't call. New England told the Giants, hey, it'll take more than a 1 this year, a 1 next year, and even more stuff this year. Like, it'll have to be, 1, 2, 3 this year, 1, 2, 3 next year. I can tell you 1, 2, 3 this year will get you Cam Ward if the Giants were to offer that. The reality is the Titans want a bidding war between Cleveland and the Giants, and they want one of those teams to give up next year's one. And if not, they'll take Cam Ward. To me, it's as simple as that. The Browns working out Cam Ward today. Jimmy Haslam was there. Jimmy Haslam traded 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson. He's capable of doing something stupid. The Giants, I don't even need to go into detail how stupid they are. That's the hope. And if not, okay, we like Cam Ward, we'll take Cam Ward. But that's what Adam Schefter's telling you. And it is not as simple as turn the card in. The Titans are not ready to turn the card in. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company, 1025, 106 for the game.
there's so much going on in this market right now where there's a Stockholm syndrome where people just kind of accept what's going on. I don't know. Maybe the Twitter thing is out of control in terms of not representing the real world, but in terms of firing the PR director, so many people are like, hey, I don't care, which is fine. You don't have to care. But if you want to know what's going on with the organization and its dysfunction, it's an important development.
It's a symptom, and I think people don't get that.
Yeah. And B, this other thing where like, well, they're, they need some change after all of this time, or you're upset that your number one source is fired, or all of this stuff. Listen, you have to step back at some point and concede, whether you like me or not. For some reason, the rest of the media is largely silent on this thing. I don't really understand it. There are people who cover the team closely and know the people who are involved in stuff who want to tell you what's going on over there and what it means. So shh for a second and listen and learn about it. You don't know these inside people. I understand that. But there's meaning to what's going on there.
Well said by Kaharski. Somebody texted during Jared versus Joe and said, no one cares in the audience whether the PR guy got fired. We get it. You don't like the move. Move on. The reason that people are worked up about it is because it's a sign of incompetence. The people that are making that decision are the same people that hired a general manager who sleeps in his office, that plays Candy Crush during meetings, that sleeps on the plane, hires a head coach that a year later they want to get rid of. That's why. That's it for us. Preds Insiders next. Stillman and Company. We'll see everybody tomorrow, too.